All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is 8:30. We're going to go ahead and get started as soon as we have a third member on the dais. Robert. Was that subtle? Thanks, Robert. All right, good morning. March 24th, 2022, 8:32 a.m., Gary Sansing Public Forum. Welcome, and thank you for being here. Please turn your cell phone to the vibrate, silence, or off setting. The Gary Sansing Public Forum is intended for matters not included on the agenda for the upcoming Board of County Commissioners meeting. Citizens wishing to address items on the agenda should sign up to speak to such items at the regular Board of County Commissioners meeting. Speakers shall refrain from abusive or profane remarks, disruptive outbursts, protests, or other behavior which interferes with the orderly conduct of the Gary Sansing Public Forum. Each speaker is limited to 3 minutes, unless otherwise determined by the chairman, to allow sufficient time for all speakers. At the chairman's discretion, the Gary Sansing Public Forum may end 5 minutes prior to the scheduled start of the upcoming Board of County Commissioners meeting to allow the meeting to commence on time. Thus far, we have 6 speakers, so at this point, we will stick with 3 minutes per speaker. And our first speaker this evening is Shirley Tilney. And if Deanna Redleski wants to get on deck, you're going to be up next. So, Shirley. Good morning. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. We have an ongoing flooding problem down our street. In December, I came and brought the problem to your attention along with several other people. They did the survey in December, and I thought, great, things are going to move along. But since then, nothing. I got an email from Mr. McCracken on January 18th saying the survey's done, the drawings will be done by the end of the month. We could have a copy. Haven't heard anything since. I haven't been able to reach anyone. I've emailed McCracken, and I'm not getting a response. In fact, Tuesday, I even went by the permit inspection office off of Fairfield asking about the project. No one knows anything about it.
Which project is it?
Renee Terrace.
Okay.
It's at Renee Terrace and Innerarity Point.
Yep.
I'm asking for a copy of these because I'm trying to figure out how to protect my house from flooding until this project's done.
Yes, ma'am.
But without the survey, topographical survey, I can't do much. So we're just trying to do stopgap measures until things are completed. But anyway, I'm kind of at a standstill here. I don't know. I can't reach anyone, and I can't get an answer. So I'm asking for help to figure out what's happening with this project.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Rob, if you would get with Ms. Tilney and give her an update.
He's right there.
Appreciate it.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Dee Redleski, you're recognized. After her is going to be Calvin Avant. So if you want to be ready, you'll be up after her. You're recognized for 3 minutes. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Doing great. How are you?
Good. Simple questions this morning, if you guys can wait until I'm done reading them. There's 7 of them. And when are you guys going to get a paper or a plan on paper to complete a restoration project on Biomarcus Tributary B? Is there any current discussions from the County Engineering Department about the study design completed to have a shovel-ready project? When will Escambia County work with FDOT to get the drainage ditch on Fairfield Drive that floods the homeowners off of Tempest due to there's a pit back there that's overgrown and full of sediment blockages. Governor DeSantis, he signed a always ready legislation Senate Bill 1954 about addressing flood vulnerability. Has that been started with the county? There's $100 million available funds there to grab. Are we the people being heard with this council, with the commission? We don't feel like we're being heard. When will Escambia County make flooding a #1 priority? Better flood protection starts with Flood Defenders' message: plan, protect, invest, and maintain. Thank you for your immediate attention.
Dee, thank you for that. And I would just say those questions, if you can email those to
Yes.
myself and to Wes, they
Okay.
will be answered. Now, you may not like the answers, but
That's
we
okay.
won't ignore you. We will
Okay.
answer you. And I will also say, I know that you all come here every meeting and it's great, but at any given moment, there is a ton of work being done for flood mitigation. It's just may not necessarily be happening, but it's coming, and a
Okay.
lot of it's underway right now. Thanks for
Thank
being
you.
here. Yes, ma'am. Calvin Avant, you're recognized. After him is going to be Gene Brown. Gene Brown, you'll be up after Calvin Avant. Good morning. You're
Good
recognized.
morning. Wanted to talk about the Wedgewood, Olive Heights, and Rolling Hill communities. And we've been working with the Environmental Justice Ad Hoc Committee. And staff, on 2 separate occasions, was supposed to put us on the agenda. And we've not been on the agenda. And we just want to make you aware that we want to recommend stormwater drainage systems in both the Olive Heights and Rolling Hill communities, and that the county commissioners get together with ECUA and at the same time look at doing gravity sewer, so that when we tear everything up, it can be torn up one time and we can go through and get everything set up. The other thing, I saw where you looked at Longleaf landfill was going to be looking at purchasing it. If you're going to purchase that one, hey, we've got 11 more that's been creating issues in our community for the last 30 years. So if you plan on purchasing that one, how about purchasing 11 more? Because it would make sense to me. We've been crying louder and longer than those people that are part of the Longleaf landfill. We need your help in order to make this thing change, to turn things around. I'd also like to make people in the community aware. Unity in the Family Ministry is looking for a summer intern, but we need someone who is enrolled in a historically black college and university. If anyone knows anyone who, this is a paid internship for the summer, coming from the Deep South Center for Environmental Justice out of New Orleans. So if you know anyone who is eligible or who fits the category, like I said, have to be from an HBCU and have a B average. And it's a paid internship. You can reach me at my number at 850-748-0675. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Avant. Gene Brown, followed by Julia Herbst. You'll be up after Gene. Good morning, Gene. Thanks for being here. You're recognized.
Good morning. Thank you for this opportunity. I am Jean Brown. My husband and I bought our home at 1475 Finley Drive 54 years ago. I will be speaking to you in multiple 2- or 3-minute increments on my profound opposition to this development. Previously, I told you of my love for the character and the quality of my neighborhood. Today, I focus on a chain of continuing connection running through transitions involving this property. This chain has existed since 2004 with attempts to embed new development which is incompatible with our existing neighborhood. 2 one-acre parcels on Finley were joined with 20 acres on JoJo by a purchase in 2004. In 2007, these owners attempted to develop 218 apartments. It failed to be constructed. Between 2007 and 2021, the names of the owners or developers changed a few times, but members of the family remained. an LLC, members of that same family, submitted a preliminary plan for 208 townhomes October the 20th, 2021. There was no notification of imminent development. A neighbor walked around Finley Drive on December 13th and encountered a man. He told her he was taking soil samples for a townhome development. Was it a coincidence? No, she was at the right place at the right time. We took action to save our neighborhood, and that continues. On February 3rd, 2022, the LLC, same family from many years past, sold this property. One of the two participants of the purchasing LLC continued the chain of connection. The name stated on the project narrative at the development as the developer for the October 2021 plan is now a new owner. Because of these connections and events, it is reasonable and logical for us to believe that a new plan will be submitted very soon. As a matter of fact, surveyors were on the site yesterday. It has been said that we have nothing to oppose, that there is no plan on the table, that we should sit and wait until yet another preliminary plan is submitted. This is an unacceptable plan of action. By following that plan, we will be too late. Too late to oppose approval of a development which may very well contain errors, ignore the well-being of our existing neighborhood, threaten our safety and security, and destroy our quiet, peaceful enjoyment of our property. Remember Finley JoJo, please.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Julia Herbst, followed by Larry Downs Jr. Good morning.
Good morning, and thanks for listening to our comments and concerns. My name is Julia Herbst, and I'm here as the Gulf Coast Program Associate for Solar United Neighbors, or SUN. SUN is a 501c3 national nonprofit that helps people go solar, join together, and fight for their energy rights. I'm here to invite you to learn about SUN and a very timely opportunity, the Pensacola Solar Co-op, which is free and open now to Escambia County community. And I want to share two important events coming up Saturday and Monday. See, SUN is not affiliated with a company or a product. We're committed to consumer protection and education when it comes to exploring rooftop solar for homeowners and businesses. Thanks to the City of Pensacola, the Leon Lowenstein Foundation, and our dedicated local on-the-ground nonprofits and organizers, partners for supporting the Pensacola Solar Co-op. The group is free to join. It helps Escambia County homeowners and businesses explore how rooftop solar can work for them to lower and stabilize their electric bills, invest in their homes, invest in their communities, and support Florida jobs. SUN Co-ops aim to save time and stress with education, competitive pricing, on quality service and equipment. We're not only trusted solar exports and support for homeowners, we're committed to working with municipalities to reach your energy, your infrastructure, and to power your community goals. I invite you commissioners and the county to support the co-op as a partner, share this co-op news, find more. Please stop by our Solar United Neighbors booth at Cyclovia, Pensacola at the Clean Air Fest this Saturday, 10 to 3, and stop by our free info session Monday at Bayview Community Center. We'll start at 6, doors open at 5:30. SolarUnitedNeighbors.org/Pensacola is the website to learn, to join, find out how to ask questions if you can't visit me this weekend. In this time of hurricane, inflation, rising electric bills, rooftop solar is a way to invest in private property, promote savings for your families through lower electric bills, and build resiliency in turbulent times. This keeps Florida jobs and Florida money local. I welcome your questions. I look forward to expanding rooftop solar in Pensacola and Escambia County. Thank you.
Thank you very much for being here. Larry Downs, you're up, followed by Chris Kerb. Good morning.
Good morning. Holy moly. I had to change that from my normal. In these turbulent times, I guess you'd say, of upside down is right side up. It's amazing. You know, you got Biden good, Trump bad, Democrat good, Republican bad, and I'm not neither. You have, you know, Putin bad, Zelensky good, Russia bad, Ukraine good. I mean, this just goes on and on. Vaccinated good, unvaccinated bad, mask good, unmasked bad. It just goes on and on. Right outside this door, y'all still have all those rules for social distancing, mask wearing by the CDC. Wash your hands, wash your hands, wash your hands. Glad to see y'all aren't doing that up there. No masking, at least. Congratulations. That's the sanitized nation right there. Jeez. Anyways, same thing with this solar stuff. The climate change, you know, climate change bad. Get on this new, you know, BlackRock good, I guess. BlackRock owns a company that owns FPL, owns a company that owns vaccines, all good. Bill Gates, good. One of the largest donors in the world to the WHO, pushing the narratives. This is so upside down. I mean, from the media pushing propaganda, from our government pushing propaganda, it just goes, it's actually comical. Y'all know it. Y'all watch the news, you're like, what? So anyways, it blows my mind that this is happening in broad daylight, recorded on videos. I try to play the exact videos, the exact words coming out of Dr. Fauci's mouth, and even TikTok removes it or removes the sound. I'm like, this is his words, not mine added, nobody else's, just his. And they can't tolerate what he said 2 years ago, today, because what he said 2 years ago was wrong. So today, it's disinformation, misinformation. Isn't that weird? And $6 trillion on COVID? Y'all remember I told y'all up here when this first began, I said, this is a big, giant scam. $6 trillion just on COVID. Not to mention the businesses shutting down. And then I'm going to speak on a couple of agenda items here, just a couple, because I know I don't want to give y'all too much of me.
You got 8 seconds.
Holy moly. Y'all loving it, ain't you?
Loving every minute.
More money.
Thank you,
All
Larry.
right.
Chris Kerb, you're recognized.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
I brought this up last time, but Dee said when? Dr. Avant, he said 30 years this thing's been going on out in the Rolling Hills, Olive Heights, Wedgewood area. Keep asking when. Thomas Jefferson talked about the silent majority. The majority is starting to participate a whole lot more right now. Are y'all listening? Dee's spoken at 8 public forums and 2 town hall meetings. Tuesday, she went to Jackson Street Master Plan meeting. Guess what? That's a project that may impact Windrose neighborhood flooding. The west 3,500 linear feet of West Jackson is in the Bayou Marcus Tributary B Basin and contributes to the flooding in the Windrose and adjoining neighborhoods. Lake Charlene Phase 2 Bridle Trail concept is to direct stormwater into the Turtle Swamp. You also have to evaluate the downstream basin, which is Bayou Marcus Tributary B. So you got a project in design, you got funding for another project in this basin. And on September 16th, 1 year of the Sally anniversary, Commissioner Bergosh, you committed to using your discretionary funds. And I do know that it's been redistricted, but y'all also took Underhill's discretionary funds. So when we gonna put pen to paper?
Chris, which project are you talking about? I'll give you a couple extra seconds.
Beach Haven.
That I committed my discretionary to?
No, on December 16th,
Okay.
you committed your discretionary funds to the Windrose neighborhood. I got it on record.
Yeah, well, that's fine. I mean, I think that might be somewhat out of context. I'd like to look at that project, but please continue.
Okay.
I think you've taken something out of context, but please continue.
Well, point being is, when you plan on oiling this squeaky wheel, is it gonna have to fall off first? Tilly needs some funding, oil on her Renee Terrace project. And I probably know why these things are not getting done, why we have so many when questions. And it's a workforce retention problem and a funding problem. It's an investment problem. I prepared a $7.5 million annual drainage budget out of LOST 4 back when I worked for the county. Then I was told to reduce my annual drainage budget to $4 million annually. Then I was told local option sales tax for discretionary funds of $1 million annually was given to each commissioner. That's $55 million, guys. I don't recall the people voting for commissioners to have a slush fund to spend on pet projects. So I'm a little frustrated right now. I don't know if you can tell that with my voice.
Chris, you need to wrap it up.
I'll give you the rest of those minutes. I sent it to you in writing, and I'll send it to you in email.
Okay, thank you. Eric Norquist, final speaker. You're recognized. Where are you? Yes, sir. Okay, please come forward. We have no other speakers, right? Good morning.
Thank you. I'm a citizen of District 5, and I also want to reach out to El May, where the jail and the Sheriff's Department is located later. This is what it looked like September 15th.
Here, turn it around, man. I can't see
Yeah,
it.
turn it
Here,
around.
just hold it up so we can see
This
it.
is what it looked like September 15th,
All right.
going into the jail.
Okay. All right.
And those charges were dropped, the primary ones I was brought into. I looked like I was about 16, 17. I'm 41 then. I was 41 then. This is what I looked like getting out. I was starved. I was beat. I was put in a cell with a maniac named Bernard Crenshaw. I was put in a cell with another snake named Timothy Simmons.
Wait, you got to speak into the mic, man. I can't hear you.
I was put in a cell with a maniac named Bernard Crenshaw who would provoke, with no provocation, at a drop of a hat, assault you. He was blocked from having one in there. This is what I look like getting out. Another cellmate, Timothy Simmons. He was a snake who would stab you in the back and lie about you, be your best friend, and then lie about you. He had a plastic garrote. I saw one rape of a girl in the infirmary showers there. Brown inmates jump on her before the door was shut. My cell in the infirmary was across there. I was in punishment cell 288 as a mental health patient. Another one, a girl I know, Kristen Johnson, who used to work at Babes Club, and I discovered that shortly before I wound up there, but I knew her before then. I cared about this girl, was marched past me as I was walking through, and I think just to send a message, and she screamed my name, and I was not able to help her. This is me now. This is me getting out. There. That's me before. I have scars now that I didn't have then. The guards burnt me. You ever heard of the Marks, the Walking Dead War in Vietnam? I never served. They certainly
You
burned
got
me.
to speak into the mic.
You ever heard of the Walks, that battalion, Walking Dead Battalion War in Vietnam? They marked me with them. I was in a restraint chair. I never served. Right here. Right here. Right here. Sorry. And I've been trying to get that investigated. I've only walked into stone walls. Now I've had to basically sue the judge who ignored recusals because I had to sue him before in 2020, which got me into jail. Retaliation by the Sheriff's Department for suing them. Yes. And basically, Edens did not recuse either, and he was listed as a co-defendant. Then I've had to take Miller to court again. Violating my civil rights. What? In 2020? Well, he did not let me prepare for my case by letting me look at law books in the Blanchard, which you're not supposed to do.
Sir, you've made some rather startling accusations. Did you ever once report all those alleged incidents?
And it has not been taken seriously.
Okay. Well, Wes, will you get with him and figure out the timeline? How long ago did this happen, allegedly?
From 2018 to currently. I mean, the Sheriff's Departments are basically, some of them, a lot of them are cool, but some of them,
You said you witnessed a rape in our jail.
Directly.
Witnessed a rape.
yeah, in the infirmary showers because it's hard to get the footage, I surmise.
Yeah, okay.
Because of HIPAA.
Here's the thing. You're going to speak with Wes. He'll speak with you. We'll get the information, and it will be looked into. Thank you for being here. Anything else?
Thank you, Leo May. Thank you.
28. Were you in jail 2018?
Yeah, I was in cell, they put me once in cell 288 to punish myself, and I was mental health.
Okay. Well, again, I appreciate you coming forward. These are allegations, but they will be looked into.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, September
So if you would get
15th.
with our administrator, or Wes, do you want to delegate that to someone? Whatever you want to do, but I want that looked into.
Myself and Rich will get with you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. All right, no further speakers? We're adjourned. 9 o'clock, we'll start the next meeting. You in, Doug? All right. Good morning. Good morning. Board of County Commissioners, regular meeting, March 24th, 2022. It's 9:01 a.m. I'm going to go ahead and call this meeting to order. Please turn your cell phone to the vibrate, silence, or off setting. The Board of County Commissioners allows any person to speak regarding an item on the agenda. Speaker is limited to 3 minutes unless otherwise determined by the chairman to allow sufficient time for all speakers. Speakers shall refrain from abusive or profane remarks, disruptive outbursts, protests, or other behavior which interferes with the orderly conduct of the meeting. Upon completion of the public comment period, discussion is limited to board members and questions raised by the board. This morning, Commissioner Underhill will be bringing our invocation. Please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance, which I will lead directly after. Commissioner Underhill, you're recognized.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. It's been one of the great things about being a commissioner is really getting to have these folks come down and show us a part of our community. You know, we had the Hindu celebration during Navratri, and we've got Reverend Knowles coming to us today from First Pentecostal. One of the great events that we do every year is the Risen, He is Risen, that's coming up, and so that was why I wanted to have you come down and take an opportunity to get us started with our hearts and minds in the right place. So Reverend Knowles, if you would, please take the podium.
We certainly appreciate the privilege of doing this as well. And could we bow our heads? Lord, Father, we come to you today. Hallowed be thy name is a declaration from our heart. We come before you with gratitude and thanksgiving for life, life that is bestowed upon us by a sovereign creator. We offer you praise for the multitude of blessings that we daily receive. We ask, as King Solomon of old, for direction, inspiration, and divine influence as we consider your ways. We pray blessings upon this gathering of community leaders, blessings of divine guidance in the decisions and choices made here today. We pray for a spirit of brotherly love to touch hearts and lives, and to influence our actions and our thoughts, that all things might be done to the glory of God. We give you thanks in all things, at all times. Your praise shall continually be in our mouth, and we again invoke your presence in this place. And in the mighty name of Jesus Christ we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, we're going to start and go right down the row. Are there any items to be added to the agenda? Madam Attorney?
No, sir, they've all been fed into the agenda.
Commissioner Bender?
No, sir.
Commissioner Berry? Commissioner May? Commissioner Underhill?
None, thank you.
None from me. Wes?
No, sir.
All right, very good. I would entertain a motion.
Move the agenda. Second.
Motion is second on the agenda. Please vote. Oh, okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no like sign. Okay. Let the record reflect that that passes unanimously. We're having a little bit of technical difficulty, so we may have to do these votes the old style, old school. All right. Commissioners Forum. Commissioner Bender, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First, our condolences to the family of John Shelton, senior librarian who was a 6.5-year employee who passed away last week. And of course, to everyone over in the library department who was close to John, his family, for everything they've had to go through the last week. And of course, to his family, our condolences. And then also, just want to thank Pensacola Beach Public Works. We're getting the new trolley stops installed and working on trying to expand some of the routes and make it a little bit more efficient. And also want to thank Rodriguez for bringing the trolley out last week, and hopefully we can, I think it's later today that they're going to make a trial run again to get everything working. So looking forward to a great season on the beach. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Bender. Commissioner Berry, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Certainly share those condolences for Mr. Shelton. I know it's been a very tragic week, and thoughts and prayers go out to his friends and family, and many of those friends are our co-workers and leadership within the county that knew him well. Certainly want to invite everybody out to the Skinny County 4-H Livestock Facility on Saturday at 10 o'clock. There's the Blue Jacket Jamboree, the Northview FFA Blue Jacket Jamboree, as well as the Gulf Coast Youth Natural Resource Organization. They've got the livestock show. The events go on kind of simultaneously. It's a huge kind of fair event starting at 10 o'clock on Saturday, running through the mid-afternoon. And there'll be thank the fire department for also participating. There'll be a big Easter egg drop from a high ladder off off one of the fire trucks. And there'll be hundreds of young people out there doing Easter egg hunts. I think that's going to be right at noon. So if anybody would like to come out there, it's going to be quite a show. It'll be the largest livestock show that we've had out there. And each year, I want to thank the board for their support over the last 7 or 8 years with this property and this facility. The amenities are being added every year, and the events that are going on are doing nothing but growing. And it's a function of the support of this board and the community supporting it over time and supporting that move to Molino. And it's growing every year, so we're very excited about it. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Berry. Commissioner May, you're recognized.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. I certainly want to send my condolences to John Shelton's family and all of our family and friends at the library, and also to Nancy Pravat, her family. I think Commissioner Berry, the accident happened in, I believe, your district, and she did a lot of work with our veterans, our homeless women veteran shelters, and so our condolences also goes out to Nancy's family and her 2 kids. Certainly want to thank Wesley Hall and Claire Long and their entire staff and all the administration and PIO for the groundbreaking of our affordable homes that happened this week. We're real excited about it, and it's been a long time coming, so I want to thank the staff for that. And we do appreciate the staff and Commissioner Underhill's office and everyone on Reimagine Jackson Street as it connects 2 districts and all the work that we did and our partners at the city. And certainly, Commissioner Bender, I want to publicly thank you. We often found ourselves sometimes on the other side of the dais and needing help of elected officials to help us navigate. And sometimes doctors and insurances just don't work out the way that they're intended to work out. And it's good to have someone who understands how to navigate that. So we all are faced with our health challenges, and we certainly appreciate your help the last couple of weeks, Commissioner Bender. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner May. Commissioner Underhill, you're recognized.
Thank you very much. I just want to point out the staff did an excellent job, I thought, on the blended form of town hall with regard to Jackson Street. And just take the opportunity to remind everybody once again, on the staff side especially, I've committed $1 million of my discretionary LOST to this project. I'm only going to be here for about another 8 months. Wendy actually has a little app on her phone that says counts down to the second of when I turn over. But that promise is really, I guarantee you it's 100% good up until that day. If we have not encumbered that money by then you got to start over again to try to get the funding for that. So Jackson Street Complete Streets is something that should have been done years ago. When I listened on the Commissioner May was there in person. I was there online, which was really cool because I got to be a part of the breakout session for the online team. And it really reinforced all the things for me, Commissioner May, that we really have already been hearing, right? So the citizens' demand signal on Jackson Street hasn't changed in all the time I've been up here. We unfortunately, the way these things have to happen, we got to spend a bunch of money with the consultants first. But there's no reason that we can't start making progress and actually identify which shovel goes in the ground where first before I'm out of here. So staff, it should be clear guidance. That message has never changed since we started talking about Jackson Street. Thanks.
Yeah, and I think the message was, Commissioner Underhill, as you and I both know, the message was consistent from the citizens. We, quite frankly, as you said, it's just nature of the beast to have the consultant. But the results are the same with or without a consultant. So we know where the work needs to start.
It was interesting, too, the consultants were using much fancier words for the exact same concepts.
Yeah.
Right? So that tells me that we've got the right consultant, and it tells me that they're listening to the people. I'd like to get past the paperwork portion as quickly and as efficiently as we can, so that money can be reserved for actually making changes on Jackson Street.
Right, and that's important because even when you look at Cervantes, maybe well intended by the engineer experts, I can just tell you to many of the average citizens, it's a debacle. I mean, and so that's why it's important to have citizen input along with the professional consultant.
Yeah, I can assure you that nobody would have ever proposed building a wall down the center of a road in East Hill.
No.
Nor on Perdido Key.
No, it's
Yeah. That's, I think, what happens when the citizens are not listened to. If that was where I lived, I can assure you my neighbors would have come out and said no to a wall,
Right.
and yes to some more intelligent solutions. So, for Jackson Street, we should learn from that mistake. Jackson Street needs to be human-focused, because it ties the neighborhoods together,
Right.
east to west. So
Absolutely.
really looking forward to seeing that progress, and I thought that the meeting, I don't think it could have gone much better.
No, it was a good meeting. Thanks to the
All right, very good. And for my part, again, it sounds like a broken record, but I'm just constantly really just amazed at just the responsiveness of staff in this organization. We've got a bunch of new leaders, and they're stepping up. And I want to name some because I think they should be recognized when they do great work. And I'm going to start with Stephen Hall, who's now in charge of our budget. And I've had a lot of questions. I've given him a couple of months and scheduled a meeting with him. And Friday afternoon turned into a Friday evening, and he stayed till the end and answered all my questions. So Stephen, I appreciate that, and I promise I won't do Friday meetings again because it got late, but thank you. And I also want to thank Wes Marino. I mean, he stepped up to an incredibly difficult position. He's up here fielding a lot of issues, and I was meeting with constituents in the northern part of the county on Saturday, a prearranged meeting. They've had an issue that I promised them I would help and try, to the best of my ability, try and fix. And I called Wes. He picked up the phone on Saturday. I asked him, hey, can you look into this? On Monday morning, he had staff up there finding a solution to the problem. So, you read a lot of things in the newspaper, you see things on Channel 3, but I can tell you, having served on another board with another set of circumstances, and then on this one, we have tremendous staff in this county, and they're getting better all the time. We've got new leaders taking new roles. They pick up the phone, they answer, they're responsive to us, and most importantly, they're responsive to the citizens. So I thank all the staff. I also would be remiss if I didn't thank Tim Day. We've had some issues out on Perdido Key. There was a problem with some palm trees in the right-of-way. And so they were gonna send out a crew of Paul Bunyans in one day and take down 70 palm trees on Perdido Key. So I immediately went to Red Alert, and I want to thank staff for backing me up, the arborist. They got together 70 trees that had to come down after I made some phone calls, turned into 26. Now, we've got some subdivisions, some homeowners associations that are going to pay out of their own pocket to remove these trees and replant them, and we're up to about 80% of those original 70 trees that we're going to save, and it's a partnership with environmental, the staff, Florida Power and Light, Rick Byers, I got to give a shout out to him. They went back sharp in the pencil. So nothing happens without a good team. And so we've got a good team here, and I want to make sure that they know that I appreciate them. So Wes, good job. Thank you for all your support. And you're recognized for comments.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I will say this, that you can't be, I don't care what position you're in, you're not going to be successful in and of yourself. You have to have good people around you, and I'm thankful for our staff. I'm thankful for the people that support the effort that we bring forward and support me. And I couldn't do it without you, that's for sure. And so if you're going to be successful, you got to have good people, and that's key. I also want to echo Commissioner Mender's condolences for John Shelton's family. It was tragic, a tragic loss that we suffered there at the library. So we do wish his family condolences and thoughts and prayers. And I see Tim here, but Tim's son had some emergency surgery last night, so we want to wish Logan a speedy recovery as he progresses. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes,
If you don't mind.
Commissioner Berry.
And I apologize for neglecting to mention this. I want to thank Wes and There were a number of people that came out to Stefani Extension Center Monday night for a town hall meeting and stayed, 2 hours. 2 hours after work hours. I want to thank them for their attendance, and David Hero and Andy for being there for kind of running it, and everything seemed to go well, so Wes, I appreciate that.
Thank you, Commissioner Berry. All right, at this point, we'll move to our proclamations. This is a ratification of something that was already presented, so the chair would entertain a motion.
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? Motion and a second on the proclamation. Please vote. We're back up and running? Okay, we're back up and running, so we don't have to, we can vote. All right. Are you sure we're up and running? Yes. Okay, all right. It passes 4-0 with Commissioner May off the dais. Moving forward to written communication, there's a lien relief request. Allison Rogers, you're recognized.
Yeah, this is a District 2 property. Commissioner, would you like for me to give you some backup on this?
You're welcome to. I'm fairly certain how I'm going to move on it.
Okay.
Bless you.
The request is by Brian Pfister. He's requesting relief from code enforcement liens. He became the owner violator because he assumed a quitclaim deed in the midst of special magistrate proceedings. It is not his homestead. It was in violation when he purchased it in April of 2019. He didn't get the violations abated in time. It is my understanding that in September of 2021, he did abate the violations, and I believe the property to be in compliance. Tim is nodding. He did go to the cost certification hearing before the special magistrate, and he did manage to get the magistrate to reduce the fines that had accrued by, the reduction was in an amount of $10,000. He is still requesting further relief. He was not able to get that relief from your administrator because he is the owner violator, and therefore it becomes something solely within your ability to deal with. There is a $235 hard cost. That was the cost of the court proceeding. In addition to that, $8,450 still remains after the $10,000 reduction in administrative daily fines. There are no other hard costs. The assessed value of this property, according to your property appraiser, is $8,000.
And Commissioner Underhill, before you go, Mr. Pfister is here, would like to speak. Would you like to hear from him first?
Yes, please.
Okay. Ryan Pfister, please come forward. You'll be recognized for 3 minutes.
Sorry, my first time here. I'm Brian. As she stated, all the facts are correct. I bought the home. My brother helped me acquire the home. It was, to say the least, a nuisance of the neighborhood. I'm proud to say it's one of the better homes in the neighborhood. After Hurricane Sandy, well, long story short, during COVID year, I had moved, and we had been picking up the property. A lot of trees were tipped over. Some of the kids in the neighborhood had thrown rocks through the windows. Get it up to date, get it up to date. I had worked with 2 code enforcement officers. They were great. They said, look, we don't want to fine you. We don't want anything but this place to be a stop of an eyesore. When I had got it up to par, as she had mentioned, I had dealt with basically rodents. It still needs a roof. It still needs a lot of things, but from the outside, it's beautiful, cleaned up, a complete 180. Long story short, when I went to the other hearing, the magistrate had mentioned, yes, we're going to reduce the fine to, I think to the tune of $8,500. I don't have that money. I'm disabled mentally. My brother told me to come here. I wasn't aware that this hearing was going to be like this, so I just thought it was going to be similar to the other one, so I'm a little nervous. And to the point of everything had been fixed, I thought I was going to show pictures, et cetera, but I guess I'm here to just state my case and just say that I'm filing for a lien reduction. My name is Brian, by the way.
Okay.
When I first came, I didn't see me on the thing, and oftentimes my last name's usually spelled wrong, but I think I'm in the correct spot now. So I guess if you have any questions, or does that have?
Thank you, Brian, for being here. Commissioner Underhill?
Thank you very much. So, Brian, first of all, man, we work for you, so you don't have any need to be nervous, and I think you did a phenomenal job. So you articulated your points very well. I am a little bit disappointed in the backup here. I don't have the normal backup that we expect for District 2, where I see the pictures and see that it is fully compliant. So while I certainly would like to take you at your word on it, I do need to hear from our staff that what the current condition of the property is. And Brian, if you do have some current pictures, I'd love to see them.
Yeah, I have them on my phone.
You could email them to Commissioner Underhill.
Yep. So Lieutenant Davis?
Yes, sir.
what's
I
the
went out
current-
there to the property this morning, and yes, it is in compliance. It's being maintained. There are no issues at this point with the property.
Okay, so since taking ownership, this owner has taken care of all of the issues that were causing a detriment to the neighborhood?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, and so then his current debt against it, so when the problem started, he was not the owner, is that correct?
No, sir, he was not the owner.
Okay, so Brian, I have a question for you. Was this it's called an arm's length transaction, so was this something where the property was given to you by a friend of yours, or did you not know who the seller was and you just?
Arm's length?
Yeah.
I never heard that term, but is it exactly the case? I had decided to move to Florida because I love it.
Hey, if you could step over to the microphone, I'm sorry, because we're making public record here.
Sorry. Yes, it was an arm's length transaction.
Okay.
It's my first of any kind such, and I didn't know really a whole lot except for the neighborhood.
Okay.
And I had been to Pensacola, and it was definitely that, as you said, an arm's length transaction.
Okay. Thank you. So Brian, I would like to have you email me the current pictures of it, unless staff, Lieutenant, did you grab some pictures when you went out today?
No, sir, I don't have them, but I'll be sure to send them to you shortly after this. here.
Okay, so what I'd like for you to do is, let's do it this way then. If you, Brian, will email those to the lieutenant. Lieutenant, if you could confirm that those are in fact that comports with what you saw today.
Yes.
Then I think that'll cover down on making sure that we've circled all the loops that we need to,
Absolutely.
for this. So, gentlemen, as we often do on these things, we try to use our code enforcement as a power for good. We try to use it as a means to get people to do what, in my opinion, this individual is doing, right? Taking a house that had been a long time problem, turning it into something squared away, something that is not a negative impact on the customers. Lieutenant, sorry, one last question. Has Brian been, and I'm sorry, Brian, you introduced yourself as Brian, so I don't know your last name.
Pfister.
Was it?
Pfister.
Pfister, Mr. Pfister. I'm sorry, don't mean to be familiar with you.
Absolutely.
But, so has Mr. Pfister been, no, that's hard to say. Has he been communicative with you throughout the process?
Yes, sir. I think we've had a pretty good conversation with Mr. Pfister over the course of the case, and we understand that his delays in the coronavirus issues and the hurricane issues may have had some setbacks with him doing the abatement in a sooner process, but I've been in communication with Mr. Pfister pretty well.
Okay. So the intent of our code enforcement is to get people compliant. It appears from everything that's been presented to us and from the testimony of our own staff that Mr. Pfister is trying to do that he's communicating with the county and has achieved significant gains. So for that reason, I move that we grant the lien relief as requested.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on granting the lien relief requested by the petitioner. Any further discussion? Allison?
It would be better if he could be specific what he's doing.
Specific,
Does
yeah.
that mean that you're waiving the remainder of the administrative fines and leaving the $235 in court costs?
Yes,
That-
yes, that is my intent. So, Mr. Pfister, what we do there, the hard costs that the taxpayers actually incurred to go to court, those you'll need to pay. But we're waiving all other fines and just leaving the $235. Does that make sense to you?
I think I understand.
Okay. So that is my motion.
All right. Second stands. All right, please vote.
And Mr. Pfister, if you would please get with the clerk of court within 60 days of today's vote so that you can take care of that, okay?
All right, the item passes unanimously 4-0 with Commissioner
Mr. Chairman,
May.
if I may?
Yes,
Hey,
you're right.
Mr. Pfister, is Jonathan, if you could raise your hand. Jonathan Owens is my aide at the office and can help you, when we say things like, go see the clerk of the court, that may not be, you may not know exactly what to do. Jonathan does. So by all means, touch base with Jonathan, make sure you've got his contact information, and he can make sure that you are able to do the things that you're required to do as a result of this action. Does that make sense?
It does.
All right, thanks, sir.
Thank you, Vice
And
Chair.
like I said, you did a good job.
Thank you very much.
All right, let's see here. Did the clerk's office receive the proofs of publication for the public hearings on the agenda and the board's weekly meeting schedule?
Mr. Chairman, the clerk's office has received all proofs.
Mr. Chairman, I move we waive the reading of the
Okay. We have a motion and a second to waive the reading. Please vote. All right, motion to waive the reading of the legal advertisement passes unanimously. All right, clerk and comptroller's report. Clerk Childers, you're recognized.
Thank you. I have 5 items on the consent agenda. The first one is the acceptance of the January 2022 investment report. As you all know, probably looking at your personal portfolios, you're not seeing the interest income like we have in the past. We are very restricted in the types of investments that we can participate in, so you will see those percentages decline in this environment. The second one, which is most important to me, is our comprehensive annual report for fiscal '21. I too would like to thank your staff and the staff below those folks sitting here. With the change in leadership this last year, it's been a tough year. I will tell you, everyone that we work with communicates, calls back, helps us to resolve issues timely so that when we get to an audit, the process is fairly, audits are never routine, they're bumpy, but this staff was very good in helping get through this. We have a clean opinion. It was a good year for us.
Fantastic.
The third is the acceptance of the TDT report. You'll see that we're on the off-season or shoulder season, but we are still outpacing prior years. So that is big for Pensacola and the hotel industry and what we provide here for our amenities and to live, work, and play, as they say. The last 2 are routine items, and those are documents that file with the board minutes, and the 5th are items, minutes, and reports that we prepare. Thank you very much, Chairman.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Chair would entertain a motion. Motion and second to move the clerk's report. Please vote. All right, clerk's report passes unanimously. Moving to growth management report. Horace Jones, you're recognized.
Yes, sir. For today, Chairman, Commissioner, Board members, we have a recommendation concerning Birch Run final plat.
Do we have any speakers, no speakers on this? Yes. Yeah,
Yes,
this is
sir.
good. It's in my district. Yep, it's fine. Okay, we have a motion and second on the item A and B. Please vote. All right, item 1AB passes unanimously. Horace?
The next item is a recommendation, concerning a whole harmless agreement for shore protection structure.
Okay, we have no speakers on this, as far as I can tell. Okay, we have a motion. Motion and a second, please vote. Oh, okay. Item 2 passes unanimously. Horace, that was a very, very quick report today. Can we
Yes,
keep
sir.
it like this every time, please?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
We
We're
like
working
it.
towards that goal.
We like it. Awesome. You done good, man. All right, West County Administrator's Report, you're recognized.
Thank you. Thank you. There are 8 items on the technical public service consent agenda. Please hold card 1-5 for a speaker.
Okay.
Move the balance.
Okay. Motion to move the balance. We have a second? Motion and a second to move the balance. Please vote. Uh-oh. Going for the card. 3. Lumen, can you vote? Oh, it came through just now. Okay. All right. Oh, it passes unanimously. Very good. Are we sure we're back up and running? All right. We're up to 1-5. So we have a speaker on 1-5.
Hey, Jeff?
Yes, sir.
If I may, I just want to recognize one of those items that was just passed was the MOU with the PBA.
Okay. Oh, yeah, that was a big deal.
So I want to thank Wes for leading those and for Alan and the PBA team for working with us to get get our corrections officers the raises that we need to.
Yes.
Absolutely. 4 out of 5 is pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a tremendous amount of progress and shouldn't, I mean, ideally, maybe relatively soon, 5 out of 5, but 4 out of 5 is a good start, and it's worlds ahead of where we were 7-8 months ago.
That's a fact, Commissioner Berry. And I appreciate you mentioning that, Commissioner Bender. And I know that it looks like we're moving quickly through the agenda, and just so everyone's aware, each of us sits down with staff. My meeting was yesterday afternoon, and it went into the evening, and we go through these things. And so I appreciate Commissioner Bender spotlighting that. That's an issue that we've had. And at this point now, with that being ratified by our union, I'm going to point out once again that our corrections team is the highest paid in this area now, highest paid. We gave them a significant raise, a tremendous raise. So thank you, Wes, for working that out with the union. Thanks to the union, the PBA, and thanks to all the men and women who work in corrections. It's a very difficult job, but at least now they're the highest paid, higher than the state. So if you work for the state, you can come to us and make more, please, especially if you're certified. Come on down. All right. Item number 5, a recommendation concerning the State of Florida Department of Transportation Off-System Bridge Project. We have one speaker, Chris Kerb. You're recognized.
Good morning again, Commissioners. This goes back to what I said in public forum when this project on Interstate Circle, this bridge, it's been on your 8 Mile Creek Basin study since 1994. It's a long time.
Better late than never. We're doing it.
Yeah, and I support it. I'm glad y'all are doing this. It's needed. I've talked to the gentleman that lives right there next to this bridge. He's got a pond in his front yard, a little private pond, and thankfully he's built right up at the top of the hill next to the interstate. So, but he can't get out of his property when we have major events. So this will definitely help him. And that translates all the way up 8 Mile Creek into the Inslee area as well. Maple Woods, all those areas in there that we've done a lot of projects on. I asked many times throughout my 25 years of service to fund a project here through administration. And so I'm really glad to see this happening. It's been on your SWAT list since 2015. So probably paying more for it than if we would have funded for it back then. Goes back to our little saying, the more you delay, the more you pay. So if you start investing more money in drainage, you'll probably end up paying less money in the future. And there's tons of grant money available, but you got to have engineering services to go after those grant projects, shovel-ready projects, and you got to have match funding to get those grants. So I don't know how y'all can come about and bring more drainage funding into your budgets, but I think you really need to put a focus on stormwater because, like you said, Commissioner Bergosh, it's the #1 problem. Let's make it the #1 priority. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Chris. Okay, Chair would entertain a motion on item 5. Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second? A motion and a second. Please vote. All right, bridge replacement passes unanimously. I appreciate that. Wes?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There are 22 items on the Budget Finance Consent Agenda. Please hold card 2-19 for a speaker.
All right. Chair would entertain a motion on the balance, or if any member would like to pull something for discussion.
Hold 6 for separate vote and discussion.
Okay, hold card 2-6.
Second.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second on the balance. Please vote. All right, the balance passes unanimously, so we will move now to, hang on. Where do we have the speakers? Okay. Okay, card 2-6, we'll start with you, Commissioner Underhill, you're recognized.
All right, the item has a very dangerous action in it, of dropping our reserve contingencies down to 12.5%. While I certainly struggle with some of the transfers out from, Perdita Key Beach Mouse funds, things like that, I really would like to have an explanation of why it's good for the people of Escambia County to have a lower reserve than a higher one at this point, when you consider all of the risks that are associated, and you consider the fact that our hurricane fund has been pretty well hit. This appears to me on the surface to be a dangerous direction, one in which we push risk out to the future for the benefit of being able to do some things now. So, Stefan, if you would please clarify why that's a good thing for the people of Escambia County.
Yes, sir, Commissioner. So I did an analysis over the last 5 years and 6 months into the current fiscal year in making this decision. Consistently between 2018 and 2020, we were 12.5% basically or better as far as our reserve for contingency and total budgeted reserves for the county. So in the current, back in 2021, we did fall to basically around 7.3%. Currently, in the current fiscal year, we had no reserve for contingency budgeted. So what you would see on the fund balance coming forward, I am putting $16.5 million into the reserve for contingency, which is compliant with the fund balance policy as it currently exists. But going forward, that amount would need to be roughly around 32 to 33 million to meet that 12.5%. I believe that we can certainly get to that level between the end of this fiscal year and next fiscal year. Just a simple income statement on the general fund's revenues and expenses to date at 6 months. We've got a net income of roughly 18 million. So I think we can get there to do this. But normally, the way that this is processed, we want to have a minimum of 2 months of general operating. This is in line with that 12.5%. That is a standard. And certainly, we want to establish a minimum standard. I would like to see it closer to a 15%, but that at least gives us some ability to meet the minimum of 12.5% for a reserve for contingency.
Yep. Hearing all, I noticed that your item in the backup, it shows up as a letter dated today from Amber McClure, Chief Budget Officer. Is this something that Amber presented, or is this coming from you?
So as far, are you talking about the fund balance policy amendment? Is that?
I think it was the agenda item template. I think because I saw that too, Doug, but I think you accidentally someone in your office left her name on there. It should have been X'd out.
Oh, so unfortunately, that was something that the system did, so I apologize for that. I don't know how that happened. It just did that.
It's from him.
Yeah. So Ms. McClure, under her tenure here, did not have anything to do with what's in front of us today?
No, no. Other than, now I agreed with a lot of the changes that she did make, and I did not tweak those at all. So I did agree with some of the changes that she made, so.
Okay. Understood. So then the other item that I wanted to address is the 117 Perdido Key Beach Mouse. If I'm understanding right here, you're pulling almost $1.5 million of the Beach Mouse money for repurposing.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Okay. Chips, if I may. So this is the Beach Mouse money that comes as a result of the very highly elevated impact fees for construction out on the Key, is it not, Chips?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and this fund exists, and actually that tax on the citizens exists for the purpose of meeting our obligations to the federal government under the Habitat Conservation Plan, correct?
Correct.
While we have done, certainly under your tenure and with Tim's work, we've done an extraordinarily good job of meeting the obligations under the HCP, in spite of some pressures very much to the contrary. To pull almost $1.5 million of that money, which was taxed against the people for the express purpose of meeting those obligations, does that not in fact create a detrimental impact on the Habitat Conservation Plan's goals?
Commissioner, it certainly could. My understanding is that 1.5 million went into the reserves, so it's not lost yet. It's not used for any other purpose yet.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, you've made promises that you're going to really try to acquire additional land out on Perdido Key.
I am.
It's $10,000 for 12 inches of beachfront. If you're lucky, it's $10,000 for 12 inches of sand. Okay. This is one of your primary tools for acquiring that, as you well know.
Yep.
It is, in my opinion, it is, when you pass a tax, you should pass a tax and say exactly what that tax is for and never spend it on anything else other than that. We always create these lock boxes and we say that we're going to do something. The most famous one obviously is the Social Security, right?
Oh, God.
And we know we've seen, unfortunately, members on both sides of the aisle raid the lock box all the time.
Over and over.
This lock box has existed for quite a while. It's an extremely valuable tool. When you look at what's going on with inflation and you look at what's going on with how popular Florida is among the rest of the country, everybody wants to be a Floridian.
They sure do.
If you could find land for $10,000 for 12 inches, you'd be lucky. I don't think that number will, I don't think you'll get sales at that point. Losing this 1.5 million that would be a critical tool for that acquisition would be a very dangerous step. I would strongly recommend against rating it says Perdido Key Beach Mouse, which is a kind of a way to kind of downplay the value of it, but it's actually the Habitat Conservation Plan money. And the acquisition of land on that island is never going to get cheaper than it is today. I mean, I literally could not afford to sell my home because I'd never be able to buy something just like it. So for that reason, I'll be opposing the item.
Commissioner, if I may.
Yes, please.
I appreciate those comments and those concerns. They're right on target. As you know, that Perdido Key Beach Mouse Fund is a restricted fund. And there are guidelines that have to be followed on how that money can be spent. As I mentioned before, it's not lost. It's not going anywhere. It will still be available for property purchases.
Which we're anticipating making. I'm working with Tim as we speak. Thank you, Stephen. Did you need anything else from Stephen? Yeah, it's an accounting situation, but of course that money is not going to be used for anything other than what it's allowed to be used for on Perdido Key, and property is front and center of that. So the chair would entertain a motion on this item. Motion a second. Please vote. Okay, item 6 passes 4-1 with Commissioner Underhill in dissent. Next up, Car 219, we have Speaker Chris Kerb. Do we have any other speakers? Just Chris? Yeah, okay, but not on 3-2. Not on 2. All right, Chris, you're recognized.
Oh, we look like we're draining a little bit of money out of the drainage impact fee funds. The drainage impact fee funds haven't been updated since 1992. They never been updated. That's when the ordinance was passed. The Stormwater Advisory Team in 2015, after the April 2014 storm event, recommended that you incentivize low-impact design. Well, how do you incentivize low-impact design? Well, you gotta, usually the way you incentivize things is with money. So if you raise your drainage impact fee and you give credit for using low-impact design, then you'll generate more funds and you'll incentivize low-impact design. But first you gotta add your low-impact design manual to your land development code. There's a spot in there. It just hadn't been added yet, but you paid for a manual. That's about it.
Thanks, Chris. Chair would entertain a motion.
Second.
Motion and second on item 19. Please vote. CAR 219 passes unanimously. Wes?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. There are 3 discussion items. Number 1 is recommendation concerning reappointments / appointments to the Escambia County Contractor Competency Board.
Okay, and we're going to be taking a paper vote on this, gentlemen? What'd I do?
Mr. Chairman, we have 1 vote for Drew Dennis, 4 votes for J. Alton Lister, and 5 votes for Erwin D. Waters.
Chair would entertain a motion.
Move Waters and Alster.
Alster?
Yep.
Lister?
Alton Lister, sorry.
Okay, all right, we have a motion. I'll second it. Okay, we got a motion and a second. Please vote for the top 2 candidates is what essentially that was. All right, top 2 candidates pass unanimously, and you understood, okay, all right, very good. Next up, gentlemen, we are going to are we taking a paper vote again? We're taking a paper vote for a recommendation concerning an appointment to the Escambia County Disability Awareness Committee.
Mr. Chairman, are any of these individuals, Ms. Ayers, Sarnacki, or Weaver, in the audience?
Let's
today?
find out. Jessica Ayers, are you here? Wanda Sarnacki, are you here? Betty Weaver. Doesn't appear that there are any of these candidates that are here. We're voting for 1.
Do we have a staff liaison for this board, Wes, at all?
I'm not sure, Commissioner.
All right. Yep, just 1. I voted for all 3.
Mr. Chairman, we have 4 votes for Jessica Ayers and 1 vote for Wanda Sarnacki.
All right. Chair would entertain a motion.
Move to appoint Jessica Ayers.
Second.
Motion second to appoint Jessica Ayers. Please vote. All right. That passes unanimously. Next up, we've got discussion with Wes Marino about the jail, but Administrator Marino, we do have a speaker. Would you like to hear from him first before you get into your comments?
Yes, please.
Okay. Ronald Cleveland Jr. Ronald Cleveland Jr. Are you in the audience? He's coming. Oh, he's coming? Okay. Good morning.
I want Jan Nunu on this side. I want Karen on this side. I'm gonna stand up. Just stay.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, everybody. I mean, it's an honor to be in front of my hero, Mr. Bergash.
Thank you.
And to address the board and to let you know that the reason I'm standing up in front of you now is because I had a stroke when I was incarcerated in the county jail. And Mr. Gross, the reason why you are my hero because you never spent the night in that jail. And you said, I will not put another nickel into that county jail. I want to tear it down. Tear it down, Jeff. Because I suffered a stroke in there, and the evidence is right here. This county jail sent me to Baptist Hospital. They knew I had a stroke. They knew it. There's a doctor's note here, Jeff. You can look. I have all the evidence. They knew I had a stroke. And to educate you guys on, whenever you have a stroke, if you're not given immediate care, the chances of you having a stroke again are 90%. And I fell into the 90. And I had a brain stem bleed. Luba, you know me. You know me when we used to go to basketball tournaments to watch my children. Man, I did everything I could to raise these children. These 3 children are from the same woman. I spent my life trying to do the right thing, and I've been decimated to a child. I suffered a brain stem bleed, the worst stroke a human can have. It's only a 3% survival rate, and I survived, guys. And all I want is to take care of my family and take care of my kids, man. That's all I want, man. All they had to do was tell me that I had a stroke. I have been through so much, everything. The reason I'm up here is because of God. Mr. Underhill, it's an honor to be in front of you, sir. Lumen, it's an honor to be in front of you too, sir, Mr. May, and the rest of you commissioners, for me to be standing here because I have survived. And there's no telling how long I got to go. The one good thing about a stroke is that through rigorous physical therapy, it's a phenomenon called neuroplasticity, where your brain rewires itself. I still have that chance, and I'm fighting hard. It takes physical therapy, and it's not free. It's not free. I'm just trying to protect my family, guys. That's all I want to do is to take care of my family, my kids, man. These 3 beautiful kids, man. You know how hard it is for them to go to sleep at night, not knowing that if somebody breaks in their house, that their dad can't protect them. I'm their superhero. I am their hero. I've been there since they were born. The day they were born, I'm not a come-by-night dad. I've been there every day. My children have never smelled the back of a patrol car because I raised them the right way. Y'all stole that from I'm sorry, not y'all. Third World Healthcare stole that from me. Jeff, you said it. And I thank you. You are my hero. It's the reason that God got me here in front of you now. And that you are the chairman. I got here 30 minutes late today, guys, trying to find these bills, which my agenda hadn't came up here. You know why? Because God didn't let it come up here, because he wanted me to get up here and speak to you guys. That's why I survived. I had to learn how to talk again. I had to learn how to eat again. I did all that stuff. And it's, go get an attorney. Go get an attorney. And all that stuff. Man, listen, my brain is a ticking time bomb now because it is. It's a it's a blessing that I have First World Healthcare. I am an outpatient at West Florida Physical Therapy. West Florida brought me back. By the grace of God, I stay in a city that has West Florida rehabilitation, the best rehabilitation in the world. They have the most comprehensive stroke program here in the Gulf Coast. Man, people strive to get in there, and I got in there and a therapist. Man, Jeff, you understand, man, one of my therapists, I guess she's in your district, she told me, you need to go talk to him. He's a man of God. I didn't even know you. Only person on this board that I have knowledge of is Lumen May. I paid ball with his son, his brother, Timothy May, Luke Timothy May, when I went to Woodham. Man, I'm an athlete. I'm not raised my children to be athletes, productive citizens, to do the right thing. And then I've been decimated to a child to learn how to eat again. So how do you think my children feel? My oldest son graduated. I wasn't even able to celebrate that, man. I spent 18 years doing the right thing. All I want to do is just to protect my children. That's it, guys. And in this envelope from Veterans Hospital, it says, I was a victim of third world healthcare because it says I suffered a stroke. Nothing was done. Nothing. Nothing. The science says, if you have a stroke and you receive no health care, you're 90% going to fall again. And that happened to me. And when it happened to me, I had a brain stem bleed, the worst stroke a human can have.
Mr. Cleveland,
Sir.
may I ask you, when did you suffer the stroke?
While I was in county jail.
I mean, but like
In April of 2020.
April of 2020.
From April of 2020, I wasn't released until June the 2nd of 2020. The MRI that they took, son, put out, I had the stroke in April, and they didn't send me to Baptist Hospital until May. A month later, they did an MRI. The doctor wrote a report. The doctor wrote a report, Mr. Bagash. He wrote a report saying that I had a brain stem bleed. They sent me back to the county jail, and you know what scared them off? The price tag. Do you know how much it costs a day to take care of a person that has a stroke? $2,000 a day. The price tag scared me. It scared me into. I finished my sentence. I was released on June the 2nd. This is dated 5/26, guys. That's when they took this MRI. I didn't come out of the county jail until June the 2nd, and they didn't even tell me I had a stroke. They just sent me back out. And let me tell you something. I'm not one. Man, I love the Escambia County. I love it. I love it. I know you guys personally didn't have anything to do with this. And Mr. Bagash, you are a great mind because you said it. You never spent the night in that county jail, and you said it's third world health care. And some say, well, how does he know it's third world? He's never been there. Here goes your evidence for you to get that county jail tore down. Here goes your evidence of third world health care, which you said I am. And I'm trying, guys. I'm trying. Look at my eye.
Well, Mr. Cleveland, I certainly applaud your effort to be here today. I'm humbled by what you're telling me, and I'm going to look into everything that you've said. And, you quoted me accurately. I don't want to spend a nickel on that old jail. I want to introduce it to the wrecking ball. I've said that over and over. I've been consistent.
Yes, you have.
I haven't spent the night in that jail, but I've been over there a couple of times touring it, and I saw enough. And
Yes,
and what I saw was third world.
Yes, sir.
That's why we're having this discussion today. So, to the family, thank you for bringing your dad here, and to you, sir, I wish you well in your recovery. God bless you.
Okay. How can I get help for what?
I think I'd like to have a copy of that. So
Okay.
if someone could grab that and make a copy for me, I would appreciate it.
I'm
It's your private medical record though, so only with your consent.
Oh yes, everything's with my consent, Mr. Regards. I told you I came down here to talk to you guys.
I appreciate you being here.
I need help. I need help. I didn't want to go their attorney route and wait years and stuff like that. I don't have time for that. Like I told you, my brain is a ticking time back. The compensation that I'm asking you guys for is not going to bring me back. I still have to fight the good fight for 20 to 30 years.
Well,
So
we appreciate you being here. Thank you for sharing your story. We're going to get copies of that, and we're going to look into it. And but we have to move forward with the agenda. But I appreciate you being here.
Thank you, Mr. Regards.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Wes, you're recognized.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. At our committee of the whole, we said we'd come back today and have a bit more discussion. And since then, we have an RLI in purchasing that's fixed to be advertised to hire a consultant that has a security engineer. That security engineer will design the hardening of the Fairfield Annex, where we feel we can house 400, maybe a little more than 400 inmates. The security engineer will also look at the work release building on L Street to see the cost of hardening that, the benefit of hardening that, and how many people we can house there. We feel it could be up to 100, but we need to make sure that building is suitable for what we're trying to use it for. Additionally, since then, we've also looked into some temporary housing structures where you housing trailers, if you will. Extremely expensive endeavor, and we don't feel that option would be one that we, number one, could accomplish in a timely fashion, and number two, one that we could afford. So we've kind of pulled ourselves back from that strategy, from that option. And we're going to concentrate fully on our two assets that we do own and hardening those. Additionally, we'll ask our security engineer to look into the new facility as well to see if there's some modifications that can be made to some of the pods that would allow us to move more inmates into the new facility. And since Committee of the Whole, 259, 260 inmates have been moved, and there are approximately 400 inmates still in the old jail. And that is kind of the status of where we are.
Thank you, Mr. Administrator. Any questions for the Administrator? Seeing none at this time. Wes, last time that we spoke about this, I was somewhat surprised that we had not involved the sheriff in the discussion. It was disappointing, especially since part of our plan as we're moving forward is to renege on a deal that we had been talking about with them for some time with regard to the L Street property. Have you since had an opportunity to correct that, and are we communicating with the sheriff?
We've had a great meeting with Sheriff Simmons. We'll be meeting probably on a monthly basis moving forward. He understands our needs. While he does have a use for that building on L Street, he certainly understands where we are and is willing to be supportive of our efforts. And what I explained to him is as we look into that building on L Street, if it's not suitable for what we're trying to use it for, so be it. Or if the cost to harden that building, the cost-benefit analysis, we can only house X amount of inmates. If it's going to cost an exorbitant amount of money to harden that building, we'll be able to know that. And I think we'll know that relatively soon, within the next couple of months.
Okay. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. And I know that we're running under fairly tight timelines before that and Sheriff Simmons was out of town at that time. So, mistakes are made,
Sure,
easily rectified. Particularly among men of good character. So I appreciate you doing that. I will say that obviously probably not going to happen on my watch, which is one of the things I'll be sad about during when I leave, that we were not able to turn the jail back over to the sheriff where it belongs during my 8 years of service. But I think that enough comments have been made up here by this board to recognize that that might be the right way to go for the county. But even if it is not, certainly improving and getting some rapprochement between the sheriff and us with regard to the jail is critical to our success in the future. Where there's been conflict there, it's cost the citizens enormously. Where there's conflict there, it's caused deaths. So it's much better for us to do that. And so you have a great opportunity for building that bridge. And I hope that we take advantage of this crisis that we've got here, to build that rapprochement with the sheriff's office.
Yeah, Sheriff Simmons was extremely gracious, and I think you'll see a great rapport as we move forward.
Outstanding. Thank you, sir. Mr. Chairman, that's all I have.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Commissioner Underhill. Wes, I appreciate the report. Thank you. I was listening in the back. One question I have, though, so the Fairfield location, we think we can get maybe 425 inmates in there when we're done?
Yes, sir.
And we've got the what do we have on the street right now? The
RLI is going out, request for letters of interest. So that's the process we'll use to bring the consultant on board.
Okay, and that is to have someone come in and tell us what we can do. And they're also going to go to the new jail and say, hey, look, if we can triple up old cells in the old jail, can we double up brand new jail cells?
We're going to ask that consultant to look at all of our options.
Okay.
All of our options.
And I appreciate your swift movement. How many prisoners have we moved out of the new jail, or the old jail?
259.
259 of the, what, six or 700 that were in there?
That's correct.
Okay, all right. And once we have the Fairfield, that'll be the next part of the solution?
That'll be our next big move, yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other questions?
Mr. Chairman, on that topic, it was stated in the last meeting that any efforts like that, doubling up or increasing the usage of the current facility, would increase the rate of decay of that facility.
Of course it will, yeah.
And I'm hearing the argument, but at the same time, that should be, if that's an argument that you can make on its surface, then that's an argument you can back up with real numbers. So I would like to see the metrics on that. And is the cost, the increased cost, or the increase in the accelerated use of the jail, I want to see that compared against the cost of other options, right? So I do not believe that that should be simply taken off of the table as one of the potential solutions.
Sure.
You know, if it turns out that it's going to decay the jail at a much higher rate than the money we'd save, then obviously we'll take that out. But I think that's a decision for the five of us.
That is why we will pursue all options with our consultant in the new facility as well.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And that's why that's important, Jeff. Can I help you with that? You can respond to- And Chief is here. We had a Public Safety Council meeting on yesterday. I mean, our new jail is not filled to capacity. It's filled to capacity by design, and meaning there are juvenile beds that are available, there are many beds that are available in the infirmary. And so that's why I do support retooling and not overcrowding it, but maximizing the space that's in there. So, if we have beds that are available and our projections are off from what we originally anticipated in terms of women facilities or infirmaries or juveniles, we're in a critical need. We need to make sure that we're utilizing every single bed in that jail. And quite frankly, Wes, I don't need a consultant to tell me. I just need for y'all to figure out how do we maximize every single bed in that new jail.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and Lumen, I appreciate that, because that's exactly where I'm at. Because right now, in our old jail that's, was built in 1981, you've got cells designed for one that have been tripled up. So if that worked, then you can't look me in the eye with a straight face and say, well, but we can't double up the much bigger, much more modern, brand-new facility, but we can triple up Castle Grayskull. That doesn't fly with me. It's illogical.
Right.
It's illogical. Doesn't make sense.
I'm not going to let someone tell me that we have beds in an infirmary or we have juvenile beds when we have people sleeping on cots on the floor.
Exactly.
So, it's for one vote. I don't need a consultant to come in here and tell me whether or not I can do that. I want somebody to come in and tell me what designs we're going to put in place to get people off the floor and put them in those beds. If there's a vacant bed in that new jail today, it should be filled.
I hear you.
And so that's my position, Jeff, I think.
Yeah, right.
So that's 2 votes for that.
Yep, right with you on that. And perhaps it's something like a surge plan, like a surge. You're built for 850, all things equal, but hey, show me a plan for if we get an extra 200, and we got to put them in there. Bring a surge plan. I think that makes sense, because that, together with the road camp, together with Fairfield Drive, I think solves the issue, and then we can make good on our promise to the sheriff to give him L Street, and we can tear down that old jail that desperately needs to happen.
And Jeff, we had a good meeting at our public safety with Chief and with Wes, with our judges, and I think that they were there were 2 judges there, Judge Nobles and Judge Amy Broderson. Yeah, thank you, Wes. Judge Broderson was there, and I think that they're wanting to do anything that they can do to help us reduce the population in the jail.
And I want to talk about that, because in speaking with Wes yesterday afternoon at my conference, he mentioned to me that we have over 100 inmates in our jail that have been there more than a year. Some of them have been in our jail 4 years, waiting for their trial. 4 years. It should be no more than a year. It's a county jail. It's not a prison. You're waiting for adjudication for 4 years in our jail. Did you guys know? I didn't know that. 4 years.
Not until yesterday.
4 years. We got to find a way to fix that. And then we got the state inmates that are not paying a nickel. I don't know how many more we have left of them, but by the way, Robert, did we ever get any money when you went to Tallahassee for that?
I think we're still working. I haven't asked about that recently, but I know that there was a bill that was looking at repaying some of that.
Yeah. Chief Powell, because that was an interesting point, Jeff, that I was not aware of until
4 years.
Yeah, I was not aware of that until the Public Safety Council meeting when the chief.
Some have been here 3 years, 2 years, but 4 years in our jail.
Can you expound on how many people we have that's beyond 11, 15 that's been in our jail but beyond 1 year?
Yes, sir. The count yesterday was 142. 24 of them are state hospital inmates that we still have the responsibility of managing. They come in and out of the state hospital back for trials.
So they're state?
They're in the state hospital.
Okay.
They're not state inmates. They haven't been convicted yet. We still keep them on our rolls because they come back for different hearings, cycle back and forth between us and the state hospital.
Do we generate any money from those?
Sir.
Nothing. That's not right. If they were federal prisoners, we would get $100 a day per head, correct?
Whatever it would be contracted for. Typically, it's around between 88 and 106, depending on what's negotiated via contract for Fed inmates.
And Jeff, you know, some people would say, and out of that 124, some of those are violation of probations, correct?
Not necessarily those lengthy stays. Those are primarily all murder trials. It takes on average between 2 and 3 years to get a murder.
'Cause they're in the system.
Trial process, yes, sir.
Right.
Wow. Well, it's a big number.
Yeah.
Robert?
Yeah, thanks, Jeff. I was going to say, an article yesterday came out that Leon County is trying to address their issue. They're currently, I think they still are, but as of 2 months ago, I think they were still having to house in 2 different counties, their excess population. So one, they're looking at developing a state legislative policy proposal that would place a limit on the amount of time that a person charged with a felony offense and waiting on sentencing can be detained in the county jail. But the other thing they said, though, and I think this is interesting to what we're talking about, the average stay for someone in their custody jumped from 137 days in 2019 to 263 in 2022. So that's almost doubled in 3 years.
It's because the backlog of COVID.
Yeah.
on
Yeah,
the courts, on the
I mean,
courts,
that's
yeah.
just the COVID.
I'm well aware of that.
Yeah.
But they got to break that, they got to break through that.
So it sounds like this might be a proposal coming, at least in front of Leon County, but also, my guess is probably FAC. So if anything along those lines, I'll support that to see if we can't get some parameters in there.
We get it, the judges are backlogged, but there's no free rides. I mean, for them to leave their prisoners, over 100 at one point, Chief?
Yes, sir.
And no reimbursement of those costs. That has to change. In fact, that sounds like something we should talk to our legislative delegation about, because if that's happening in our county, there's 66 others, and I'm sure we're not alone.
Oh, very much so. At the peak, when we were at the peak,
We should
for
be
example,
should be
Volusia was
reimbursed for
covered,
that.
Almost 300.
300.
In Volusia. Some of our other counties were
That's crazy.
proportionally.
Commissioner Barry, you recognized?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Lumen, what was the feedback when that came up yesterday? What'd they say?
I mean, I think Wes and Chief are both there. They were open to trying to move the cases. I mean, a lot of the VOPs, Steve, they can't move them as quick as they like because they are on technical violations, but they have other charges. So if they do release or address the violation, a misdemeanor violation probation, they're still sitting there with a felony charge. But they had some creative ideas, I think, in terms particularly the medical, those who are in the state facilities, that the judges are trying to do that remotely, where the person who is at the state won't lose their bed, because that's what happens. I mean, there's a shortage of mental health beds at the state. So if you bring someone back on a VO pay or they bring them back, then they lose that bed and then they get back in line, correct, Chief?
Yes, sir. What they would do is come back for a hearing, and then we'd have to wait for a bed to reopen at the state hospital again before we could send them back. What they're trying to do now is do it via teleconference, if you will, do the hearing. That way they don't lose that bed and they don't return here.
What did the folks from the judiciary say? Were they there?
We-
Judge and Robin Wright, everybody?
Robin was not there, but the state attorney's office was, Kelly was there, and Bridget was there, and state probations were there as well.
So they just kind of expressed support for trying to solve the problem?
Right,
Okay.
they certainly recognize that we do have a problem, and I think.
Did there seem to be some surprise? I mean, it was surprising to me when Wes told me that the other day.
I don't think so. I don't think the judges were surprised at all. I mean, they know that we have a problem. But what they're trying to do is move the cases as quickly as they can. I mean, that's what they offered. You know, more remote hearings and, you know, weekends hearings and those type of things to get people out of the jail. But they were very supportive. I mean, it's a national problem. And as the chairman just said, you know, with the backlog of COVID. But the reality of it is, Steve, I mean, you know, the mental health problem that we have, I mean, you know, we're going to have to address that. They're all direct correlations to each other. I mean, you know, so quite frankly, prevention is more the key than incarceration.
On a positive note, our count this morning is the lowest it's been in 3.5 years.
That's fantastic news. Great. Where are we at right now?
It was below 1,400. It was 1,390 something.
That's awesome. That's great news. Thanks,
Summer's
Chief.
coming, though.
Thank you. Don't jinx us.
Nah, I just know.
All right. Anything else, guys? Lumen?
No.
You good? All right. All right. Moving forward, That's it. I believe that's it for Wes's. So we're up to the county attorney's report. We do have a number of speakers. It looks as though we had a speaker for Cat 11, but he is gone.
I'm asking to drop item 11 in order to find a mutually acceptable date with counsel to the ATU. So we'll be dropping item 1.
Do we need a motion on that?
No, we don't need a motion, but I do want to take the opportunity to remind the board that at this point, an impasse hearing on the issue of union leave with the ATU is imminent. I ask that you please refrain from communicating with the media or ex parte communications with either management or ATU leadership.
On that topic.
On that topic, yes, sir, because we need to reserve those exchanges for the hearing, which hopefully, and I've told them on union leadership this morning, that we do need to make sure that we have a mutually acceptable date that is pretty imminent. We really do need to get this resolved. That will be a quasi-judicial hearing, and hopefully, based on the narrowness of issues, it's my hope that that will be a fairly short hearing. But I do need to drop item 1 for purposes of this morning.
Thank you, Madam Attorney. So we have 9 items on our action agenda.
Yes.
1 we're going to drop.
Yes, sir.
We've got speakers on 6.
That is if needed. Mr. Dunaway and Mr. Hemmer are here to answer questions if necessary, and I don't believe that it's necessary for him to speak on item 7 this morning.
Okay, so we're going to hold those just in case. Is there anything else on this slate of 9 items that any of
My
members would like to-
only other comment for item 9 is to Mr. Underhill, which is that my past recommendation has been for him to abstain based on the appearance of an inurement to his private gain or loss. I defer to him on his decision on that, but that is item 9.
hold that one for a separate? So we'll hold 9, and that'll allow him to do what he wants to do.
Well, do you want to hold it? Do you want to ask him, Doug, are you going to abstain, or what do you want to do?
Well, I doubt the outcome's going to matter one way or the other, so I'll play it as it comes.
Okay. All right, Mr. Chairman, I move the balance.
Okay, so just for clarity, we're moving everything except for 1, which we've dropped, and 6, 7, and 9. Is that correct?
Hold 8, please.
6, 7, 8, and 9. Is that?
I mean, I don't need to hold 6. It's not necessary for me.
Well, there's, okay.
Well, it's not necessary.
Okay, so you want to just, okay, so let's not, I mean, I have nothing on it, so
Yeah.
you want to move it?
Yeah.
So, sir, restate your motion, please?
Thanks.
So-
If I could hold you up, I'm sorry. I realize that I'm obviously opposed to E-dates, but this is just scheduling a public hearing, so there's no need to hold on to that. I'll have the opportunity at that public hearing to discuss E-dates.
Okay, very good. So what's your motion, Steve?
So what are we saying needs to be held?
1's going to be dropped.
Okay. Moving 2, moving 3,
Okay.
moving 4, moving 5, moving 6, moving 7. We're holding 8.
No, we're moving 8.
We're moving 8. Okay, moving 8. And
Holding 9?
based on Commissioner Underhill's comment, he said it doesn't matter, so I was just go ahead and move 9 as well.
Second. No, we're holding, I'm calling for holding 9.
Okay, you still want to hold 9? Okay, all right, I'm sorry. All right, yeah, move the balance, then holding 9.
All right, we're moving 2 through 8.
2 through 8, and before...
Dropping 1, holding 9.
Okay. Dropping 1, holding 9. I will say for the record before we vote, I intend to vote for this, but I had some significant concerns about 5. I want to thank Stephen Hall. I want to thank Steve West in the Attorney's Office. I want to thank Allison Rogers. It's an important decision that we're making here to help really a great community partner. So I'm going to support the slate, including number 5, but I just wanted to put that on the record. There was a lot of due diligence over the last 24 hours on that item, so.
We're not losing anything. Understand? There's
No,
just-
but we're giving up our first position on a
right.
mortgage. So
Right.
that's pretty profound. But again, given the nature, given the nature of what they do and the community impact, I'm going to be supportive. So we had a motion. Did we have a second to Stephen's motion? Commissioner made it. Could we have a motion, a second on this item? Please vote. All right, the balance passes unanimously, so we are now going to item number 9. Is that correct? We've dropped 1, everything else was good and voted, so we're on item number 9. Commissioner Underhill, you're recognized. Do you want to wait? All right. Well, you wanted to pull it. Madam Attorney?
Yes, sir. Item 9 is substituting the Rick Figlio and his firm in for Mr. Hammonds on the Underhill versus Escambia County case. I need a motion on A, B, C, and D.
Madam Attorney, I have some questions.
Okay?
So to make sure we're bringing in the attorney that was recently suing the county for Mr. Bear, and now and that attorney is the one that will now be handling the county's issues here.
Yes, sir.
Okay, have you addressed that with anybody at the Ethics Commission to find out if that sounds?
That would
right?
not be something for the Ethics Commission. That is an issue of the Florida Bar. If you see item D is a conflict of interest waiver, that is in the backup. It's one of the items you would be voting on as the board if you're voting.
Okay, during that negotiation on the Bear case, you recommended, and this board moved, that the board would be penalized over 6 figures if we followed our policy and reimbursed my fees. Does your decision to make this proposal, does that factor into your recommendation today? The fear of having to pay those fees?
No, sir.
Okay.
Different.
I had to spend
different cases.
Well, but it's yes. On the one hand, it would be considered certainly as different cases. But to say that this all isn't tied together with the political nature of Mr. Bear's lawsuits would be you'd have to be a willful suspension of disbelief. So, have you spoken? I mean, this is a case in which my attorneys have been. I mean, just summary judgment, just smoked the opposing counsel. Certainly my attorneys are really good attorneys, but also because the facts are on our side, and that's always the best way to go into a courtroom. So we've won 3 times now on the facts of this case. Have you spoken with any appellate lawyer that is indicating that the county would have any possibility or likelihood of success in appeal?
My advice to the board is that Mr. Figlio believes there is ground for appeal. It is certainly within the board's discretion if it wishes to take that route or not.
Yes, ma'am, I understand, but the question was, have you spoken to anybody that's experienced at winning appellate cases that would tell us, this board, that we've got a chance of succeeding?
Yes, sir. I've spoken with Mr. Figlio, and he is of that opinion.
So outside of the person that we would then be hiring to do it, have you talked to anybody that?
No, sir.
Okay. So you are aware, right, that we are on the record, both Commissioner May and the chairman, at various times during the meeting, during this process, have said, if Doug is victorious, then we should pay, and I will vote to pay if he is in fact victorious. You know that?
I leave that to the board members. I don't have a vote.
All right. Do you have a ballpark estimate of what this might cost if the county were to appeal and lose?
Not yet.
Okay. I mean, but it's reasonable. I mean, appeals generally cost more than the case before it, right?
The hourly rate is in the backup. It's $2.75 an hour.
Okay. So it wouldn't be
For the
surprising
attorney.
at all if this cost $30,000 by the time it was done.
That would not be surprising, correct?
And if I was victorious, then you would end up paying both sides of that as well, right?
Potentially.
Okay. I'm almost done, guys. Sorry.
No, you're fine. You got the floor.
Do you have any concerns that this appeal might appear to be frivolous, especially since the board's been on the record saying what our policy is, which is clear in the matter that is not in dispute, given the statements that have been made up here, are you worried at all that you might be exposing the county to being found responsible for frivolous lawsuit?
I think it's premature. I do not believe it's frivolous. There do appear to be grounds. Obviously, the filings are not prepared yet.
Okay. Well, it could have cost a lot less had the board just followed its policy, because then it would have been very clear that you couldn't sue me into silence. It should be clear by now that you cannot sue me into silence. And now we're up to $24,000. $24,000. We often talk about, like with Perdido Key, it'll never be cheaper than it is today. It'll never be cheaper to make this go away than today by simply not taking the county attorney's advice. And to keep in mind that it's that county attorney's advice that has basically gotten you beat every time that we've gone to court. So, Mr. Chairman, those are the only questions that I have.
Okay. And since you mentioned me, Doug, I think you've taken my comments out of context. What I've always said was we would follow the policy. And after all legal action, if it was ordered, after all appeals, then of course I would pay, because I would have no option other than that. I think it's pretty premature to say that there's no chance that this would be successful on appeal. Judges get appealed all the time. They get overturned. You have decisions that get reversed in part, upheld in part. And I think initially looking at the conduct at issue that you engaged in, you were successful, but I don't think that the actual conduct that you engaged in was ever fully adjudicated. I think a blanket decision was made that a lot of people disagree with, frankly. Judges are not gods. They make mistakes. And to say that you can sit up here and say whatever you want, no matter what, to anybody about anything, and you have blanket immunity, I think is wrong, and I don't necessarily believe it'll survive outside of the First Circuit. So we'll see what happens with that. Part two is, as I read the order that came through, written by your attorneys and signed by a judge, I think that judge got it wrong too. So yeah, but at the end of it all, after all the appeals, if we are ordered to do so, I will pay. But we're not there yet, Doug. And again, judges aren't gods. So we'll see what happens when it goes to the first DCA. Any other discussion on that? Motion? Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Please vote.
Madam Attorney, I've chosen to abstain in this matter for the reasons previously stated. If you could make sure that my office has the documentation necessary.
Yes, sir, you have 15 days from the time of the vote to make sure that that gets filed with the clerk of the court.
Okay, the item passed 3-0 with Commissioner Underhill abstaining and Commissioner May off the dais. We're going to move forward now to CAT. Let's see, where are we at? We're going to go to CAT 2. We have a number of speakers on the FPL rates. Would you all want to hear the speakers? Okay. And while we're calling them up, I will just state for the record, I've had a number of constituents contact me about the price increases and the rate structures in Northwest Florida, juxtaposed with other parts of the state that seem to indicate that, you know, we're paying a much higher rate. I've had a number of people contact me about the going over 1,000 kilowatts and how that creates a higher pay. So knowing that a number of counties and municipalities have submitted letters, I have put this on the agenda for consideration by the board. I mean, if the board directs me to sign something, I will do so, but I want to hear from the board. I've not unilaterally made up my mind that I necessarily want to do it, but I want to hear from the speakers and I want to hear from you. So with that, we will start with our speakers. We'll start with, let's see here, I'll get back to that item. We will start with...
Hey, sorry, Jeff.
Yes.
Do you have a proposed letter or anything, or?
I put some...
I mean, there's some examples from the other cities, but...
Well, I wanted to put up what other cities and counties are putting out there and then hear from you, and then the follow-on after that would be a letter to be crafted and brought back to the board
Okay,
for your approval. Yeah. But again, I didn't know where you guys are. We can't have these discussions out in the open. So, you know, just anecdotally, I've heard a number of people have told me that their bills went down. So, you know, I don't know. I don't know where you guys are. Look forward to some guidance. But we'll start out with our speakers. And first up is Brandy Johnson.
Good morning. First of all, I would like to thank all of you for everything you do on behalf of Escambia County. I wrote the Change.org petition to represent the residents of Northwest Florida against these extreme rate increases, and we currently have almost 18,000 signatures. The community was led to believe that our bills would increase $15, and a lot of people's bills have been doubling and tripling. My fear is this is only the beginning with the tiered rate. And when the hottest months of summer come, it could be deadly for our elderly citizens that are afraid to run their air conditions. I also brought one hard copy of bills. All of you should have received emails with bills collected and the letters from the 3 cities and all the information with the petition and the cover letter and everything. So I'm just basically here today to advocate for a lot of people who can't be here and request that you please send a letter on behalf of our citizens. There has been a lot of suspicious activity with people's bills, like nobody's home and they're having higher usage on the weekend. A lot of people have resorted to monitoring this daily and, you know, having to live uncomfortably for fear of what their bill is going to be. So even though you can see these bills, you don't really have the complete picture that people have been cutting breakers off or not running their heater, trying to layer up with blankets. And so there's a lot to take into account. These bills aren't necessarily the full picture, but there have even been instances in our group where people are out of town and their kilowatt usage is up. Like one of the commissioners said, a lot of bills have went down at this point. They have. But I believe with everything happening and all the public outcry, that is also suspicious, that there is a possibility that our meters could be manipulated. And I feel it's very important that we have a forensic audit so we know the full story. This is creating great hardships on, frankly, some of the families that are being hurt the most vulnerable. And so I hope that this board finds it necessary to at least write a letter on behalf of the residents that you represent. And I'll let my time go. Thank you.
Thank you, Brandy.
Do I need to give these bills?
I think we all got those electronically, and thank you for sending them.
Okay, so you don't need these.
Unless the members would like.
Question for the speaker.
Yes, go ahead.
So, sorry, I hate calling people by their first name, Brandy. If you, at my office, when we receive phone calls on this, what we always ask for is please provide last 2 months' bills and then year over year where they were for those same months. You know, I know for the Underhill family, our bill went up about 35–40%, as did our consumption, and an issue that I have addressed with my sons. In our case, yes, the bill is higher. It's higher because of a lot of other things, but also because of a higher consumption. What I have not been able to have anybody provide for me is that year-over-year bills that show similar levels of consumption and, you know, exorbitant price increase. If you have anything like that, I really need it to be able to formulate my vote, my position with regard to this issue.
Well, the way the bills are printed is that it doesn't necessarily show, like, if this winter your kilowatt usage was the same as last summer, it doesn't necessarily show the monetary amount that you paid in this winter. And that would be a vital key to the puzzle. Mm-hmm. But I don't know how to access that.
And I'm not talking about summer, I'm talking year over year. So that would be like January of last year to January of this year, which really was the big, you know, that's really what made this the substantial increases in the January bills were the ones that really made this a major public issue. So again, I am trying very hard to find any data artifacts that really support, and everybody who's called the office, that's what I asked for, and I've never gotten it. So I really need to see the consumption and cost from this January compared to last, this February compared to last, this December compared to last. Not your job to staff that for me, obviously, but I'm telling you that my staff is struggling to get those data artifacts which are necessary to really properly contextualize this problem and then formulate an opinion about it.
Well, I can tell you these bills will show 1 month with the same month the year before, but it doesn't actually show the monetary amount. I'll be glad to leave this with you since it was printed for you guys.
Perfect. Okay, yeah, sure. Jonathan, if you mind picking that up from her.
Thank you, Brandy.
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next up, Amy Wilson. Is Amy in the, okay, here she comes. Good morning.
Good morning. First of all, I just want to thank you for all that you do. I know being in the government's not easy.
Has its moments.
Absolutely. I'm here also representing our group. I started a group. She started the petition. We have almost 10,000 people in there. I need my glasses. Let's see, we have almost 10,000 people in there right now. She has the petition that we're almost at 18K. My bill personally went up about $400 for a month, and then went down a little bit, but it's back up again this month, and we have been trying to conserve energy, but it doesn't seem to be working. We are here because of all the thousands of people that are in this group that reach out to us every single day. We just got a brand new bill for March who has a 750 square foot house saying that they used 3,000 kilowatts and their bill is $600. And that's the kind of inconsistency that we are seeing in this group daily. And we have 3 counties that are writing letters for us on our behalf, for we the people, to reevaluate FPL's rates, what's with the double tiering, why are we getting, why are we paying so much extra? We are asking you guys to help us, we the people, to write this letter just to see if there's other indiscrepancies that we don't know about. I mean, there's definitely something going on. It's not just one bill. It's been hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, and we have been on the phone with people like yourselves and other counties are having some of the same issues. There's definitely something going on. I know they've had other issues in the past. I know that they've had civil lawsuits against them. It's my opinion that FPL should not be a for-profit company. We have so many people suffering while the CEOs are sitting around making millions of dollars, while off the back of us trying to live like Little House on the Prairie because people are afraid to turn things on. So I just, I'm here helping to represent we the people and in hopes that you guys will help write this letter for us and just see if we can, get something done.
So you're in support of the letter. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. By the way, we've got a number of speakers. If there are any that would like to just wave in support of a letter being sent from this board, that would be received well. Okay, what was your name?
Amy Wilson.
You're not on the list, though.
What's that?
I mean, no, I'm talking about, I see the
Oh,
hands in the back.
Yeah.
So who's waving in support back there? Are you signed up to speak? I will. No, please, no. I'm trying to be efficient. Okay, never mind. Larry Downs, you're recognized. Thank you, Amy. You want to wave in support, Larry?
And speak. FPL, I hear them talk about all this stuff, and of course, everything's going to go up in price, everything, because of the policies of our governance, local, state, and federal. I mean, that's just the way it is. We're going to be paying more taxes, more fuel consumption taxes. We got to pay tax on everything because we got that 10 trillion in 2 years. But, my bill did go up substantially. And as soon as I realized it, I did what probably a lot of other people did. And I didn't do it out of necessity. I did it just because it really, pissed me off that bill went up that much. So I didn't use my heat for a month. Just didn't use it. We just got some more blankets. And I did it just because I don't want to give them that money. And then I find out that FPL is owned by Next Era something, and then BlackRock owns them. And then BlackRock owns all this other stuff, or is huge manipulators of the market. And, I would like for y'all to send a letter to him to basically make all of this transparent. Let's see exactly where the charges are, the percentage that goes up. It's easy for them to say it. And it's easy for, manipulating the meters, I wouldn't put that past anyone, just a little tweak here and there. I mean, surely. I've seen it happen over the years with these electronic water meters. It's just a glitch. Let's look into it. Let's make sure that it's the real rate increase that they say. And it's not something, something that's a little bit more deliberate, or everything's an accident. Y'all know that. So anyways, send the letter, send it, and let's demand a little bit of transparency. Doesn't matter. In the big scheme of things, we're all screwed anyways, but heck, let's give it a shot. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Larry. Next up, Roy Skinner. Roy Skinner. Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Absolutely.
Okay. I'm here to state exactly what Florida Power and Light is doing to your constituents, the very people that vote you into office and you are sworn to look out for. 1, we receive our bills. 2, the bill has wildly inaccurate kilowatt-hour usage figures. This is also known as false information, simply stated, a lie. Yet they are able to demand payment based upon their lie. Okay, people's usage is doubling and tripling according to Florida Power and Light. People are living in the same manner they were before. They are not suddenly changing their way of consuming electricity. People are creatures of habit. They don't suddenly start consuming 2 to 3 times the electricity that they usually do. The next thing that happens is Florida Power and Light demands payment that they state we, your constituents, owe for our bill. We do not have the ability to dispute the accuracy of the bill. They provide the information we have to go by. They demand payment. If we do not pay the bill, however inaccurate it may be, they shut off our power. That is a very different definition of extortion. Pay this or we hurt you by shutting off your electricity. Your constituents have no recourse but to meet their demands or have their power shut off without the ability to dispute their demands. We need our commissioners to help us address these injustices. We need you, our strong commissioners, to come to the aid of us, your constituents. One of the very worst things is the random, arbitrary manner in which this is happening. Kind of reminds me of tornado damage. And just for a little background, I spent 21 years working at Santa Rosa CI as a dorm sergeant. Well, 11 of them as a dorm sergeant. And I took care of inmates that were there for horrible crimes, lots of them thieves and burglars and all that kind of stuff. And the difference between them is they at least have the honesty to point a gun at you or a knife or threaten to beat your butt. And then they take your money. Florida Power and Light, they send out a piece of paper or an electronic document, and they say, you owe this, period. And we have no recourse but pay it. I'll take the convicts, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Skinner.
Thank
All right.
you.
Christian Wagley, you are recognized. Morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. Christian Wagley, speaking on behalf of Healthy Gulf. I've spoken to you before. We work on a range of water and environmental issues, and that gets into energy as well, how we get that energy, and the ability of citizens to have fair access to that energy at reasonable rates. We certainly support your sending of this letter. We believe it's an important first step in resetting the balance that should exist between the right of a corporation to make, or the ability of a corporation to make money, and the ability of citizens to have access to reasonable rates for electricity. Probably all of you are either in or have been at some point in business, either for yourselves or with another business, and you understand the competitive marketplace. Okay, you've got to be good at what you do, or somebody that does better than you, they get the business, they get the dollars, and you don't. It's important to understand, obviously, Florida Power and Light is a government-sanctioned monopoly utility, so the government has granted them the exclusive right to provide those services. And in that case, there's supposed to be a balance maintained between the ability of that corporation to make money and citizens to have access to fair rates and also good service. And that balance is not here. It is way out of balance. And I know those decisions are largely made in Tallahassee with the Public Service Commission and who the legislature appoints to oversee that. Sending this letter will be one small step, again, toward resetting that balance. I can't help but think also in the context of the pandemic now, many of us have read these articles, or we've talked to our friends and neighbors that have businesses who've talked about their costs of their supplies and various things going up, and they said, you know what? This is a tough time right now. We're not going to pass that cost on to our customers. We're going to eat that right now for a while we can. Florida Power and Light didn't do that. They came with another huge rate increase request last summer that was approved. As was mentioned, they've got executives making $8 million a year, and I think his boss makes $25 million a year. I think most people feel at their core that that's not fair when you're locked into buying from them. I can't go buy from somebody else for that. And I think if, for example, if the ECUA, if somebody over at Emerald Coast Utilities Authority, if their executive made $2 million a year, I guarantee you this board would say that's ridiculous and that's out of line. That's a monopoly, and they shouldn't make that much money when they're not in a competitive marketplace. If you can make that in a competitive marketplace, that's fine. Go for it. Again, the balance of power is out of whack. You can help to reset that by sending this letter today. Join the city of Crestview that has done this. The city of Milton has done this. City of Pensacola has done this, and hopefully now Escambia County will add to that as well. Your people, they're crying out for some help with this, and this is the first step. So thank you for listening.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Questions,
Yeah,
comments
please.
for the speaker?
Yeah, please.
Christian, there's a lot of parts of this that you and I would probably disagree on. I'm very disappointed in all the drive for alternative power, which has a much higher cost per kilowatt hour to create, and that certainly is driving a part of it. But I tell you one thing that you and I and probably almost everybody would be able to agree on is that a monopoly like this should not be allowed to make enough money to do anything other than deliver the service that it's supposed to deliver. Okay, and that right there, I think, is the key element that that we should be addressing. Just like ECUA spends, I think, 40 grand a year or so to sit on a economic development board. Okay, that's not a utility. I don't have a choice about where it goes when I flush the toilet, right? If I want to support that personally as a taxpayer, then that's how that money should go. It's a problem at the ECUA level. It's a massive problem at the power companies level. These power companies are involved in economic development, and if I'm not mistaken, and it's all very, very hard to figure out, and so embroiled with all this legal stuff that it makes it very hard for me to spend the time necessary, but every dollar that is paid for those that's below the line, before the profit, that allowed profit line, that's them currying favor with local governments and with state government on your dime. Now, if it all comes out of profit, the profit that's allowed, then that's fine, but it isn't. I mean, much of that economic development money that's going into, places like the Bluffs and sitting on these boards with elected officials creates an environment in which we're incentivized. Those of us that represent the people are somewhat incentivized to allow them to continue to profit at that level. That's where we need to address, okay? And honestly, I think that's the one where you get about 95% of the population supporting. And that allows us to get away from the discussions like the things that you and I would disagree on, in terms of things like pushing for alternative energy sources and things like that. So it'll be interesting to watch how this plays out, because they have extremely effective lobbyists. They spend millions for it, right? That are going to try to divide us as a society along political lines or fairly close to it. But this one right here, the rank and file Republicans, rank and file Democrats, and rank and file everything in between would recognize, and I think be very supportive of eliminating the power companies and these monopolies, these government-provided monopolies, from being able to engage in economic development projects, which are, in fact, to a great extent, cronyism.
Thank you for that point. And we'll take up the renewable energy issue another time. But the reason they're investing is it is the least expensive form of energy. That's why they're doing it.
I'll buy the pizza. We can have that conversation at the Elbow Room.
All right, next up, Chris Kerb. Did Chris leave? Oh, there he is.
I'm just going to be brief because this, power bills is kind of out of my lane. I do stormwater, and that's my passion. But I did want to get up here and speak. I met these ladies in this group with Florida Power and Light. Price gouging, I believe there's a Facebook page at the City of Pensacola council meeting. And one of the things I do with flood defenders is I try to unite other advocacy groups together with common goals. I think you should send this letter. I thought you inviting Florida Power and Light to your town hall meeting was very productive. I spent a few minutes talking with one of the ladies that came, and but I think you should send a letter. Thank you.
Thank you. And that's our last speaker. So at this point, gentlemen, I'll take my cues from you. I put this on the agenda. I told a number of folks that I would. And, if you believe it would be beneficial to send a letter, I'm happy to draft one based upon something similar to the ones that you've found in your backup. But at this point, I would just look for direction from the board. Okay?
For what it's worth, I don't mind, Commissioner.
Okay. All right, anyone else?
I'm happy to see what you have to
Okay,
write.
all right. So what I'll do, I count to 3 here. I will draft a letter based upon, similar to the templates that I've received from the other municipalities, and at our next regular meeting, I'll bring that for consideration of the board. If they approve it, then I'll sign it and we'll send it. I appreciate everyone speaking on the issue. Thank you. All right, up next, I appreciate you all being here, and thank you for your patience, waiting all the way through our meeting to the end. It's very good. All right, next up, retaining the Levin Papantonio firm. We have a number of speakers, starting with Larry Downs. We're going to hear the speakers first.
Hello, Larry Downs Jr. Hey, I'm glad to see y'all pulled off all those signs that said seat here, every other pew. That was pretty good. Now, if y'all can just get the rest of those signs off the walls out there telling us to wash our hands, I think we know how to do it. These are, attorney fees to represent I guess, 3 county commissioners. Is that correct?
Yep.
All right. And from what I understand, this is from, I've really got no problem with, with paying for attorneys to represent you if you're, conducting the people's business and you get sued. And I don't know if this could be considered really conducting the people's business, from what I've heard. I was real busy when this was going down, so I didn't get a chance to speak on it, although I did make a video. It's floating around out there somewhere. If you're found to have said things that are, what would you call it, false or inflammatory. Not really inflammatory, because that's a matter of opinion, but if it's false, fraudulent, I don't think we should be paying for these attorney fees, if that's the case. So, if you're, during this court proceedings, will this be able to be backed up and say, well, you were found, to be held accountable by the court or by a judge or by the next judge in line for the appeal or whatever, and that one upholds it, would we still be on the hook as taxpayers to pay for these attorney fees?
Larry, this item is for pro bono representation.
Oh, pro bono. Okay. All righty. So they're going to represent you for free? Huh. Is there any?
That's what that means.
That is amazing. So no favors, no nothing, huh? Just free. That's amazing. Maybe they'll help me out when I need them. Thank
Call
you.
them. They answer the phone. Call them.
Well, then why is this even on here? If it's for free,
It has to.
why are we even voting on this?
We're following our policy.
Yeah, we have to vote.
We're following
Oh,
our
the
policy.
policy requires? Huh.
Sure does.
Did Doug have to do that? When he hired an attorney?
I think he was supposed to.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you much.
Yep. All right, so gentlemen, we have to do these one at a time. And I've got scripts, and you've been provided with the scripts.
If I could,
Yes, do I have another speaker? Yeah, Chris Kerb, we've got one more speaker.
All right. And
We'll
Mr.
listen to
Chairman, after him, I believe we would be able to take A.
We can take
first,
A
correct?
together, and then
Right.
we got to do each one individually. All right, Chris, you're recognized. You want to wave in support?
I just have a few comments about it. Pro bono, that's good. But time is money, right? I mean, y'all's time has been spent, Pam's time's been spent on this. I've seen tons of stuff on Facebook about this. People got their feathers all in an uproar over it. My thing is, why can't we just get along? I do understand sometimes you have to have an attorney to settle a dispute. I had a concerned citizen in Santa Rosa County file a grievance against flood defenders and myself with the Florida Board of Professional Engineers. Of course, I resolved the issue. I'm not going to court over it. Maybe that would be a better way to take this. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris. All right, the chair would entertain a
I have
motion.
some questions for the attorney.
Yeah, okay, go ahead, Doug. You're recognized.
So, Madam Attorney, very generous. I think that, can't believe I just about forgot your name, Larry. It's on every truck in town. As Mr. Downs said, it's very generous for Levin Papantonio firm to, to provide the service pro bono. It was the Levin firm that represented us on the on BP, did they not?
Yes, sir.
And did they also represent us on the opioid?
Yes, sir.
And as I recall,
Which is continuing.
yeah. So as I'm remembering though, those were kind of unsolicited offers, right? They came to us and said, "Hey, we'll do this for you." Or
No.
did we run through the unsolicited offer process?
No, in both cases, that was an official procurement.
Okay, so it was an official procurement, and that means that, in fact, the Levin Papantonio firm is, by definition, a vendor for Escambia County.
Yes, sir.
So have you spoken with anybody at the Ethics Commission?
Yes, sir, I have.
And what was their, well, let me go ahead and finish the question. How about that? And then you can go to the answer. And have you spoken to anybody at the Ethics Commission specifically about whether or not this action would present a gift to the commissioners from a vendor?
Number one, there are some findings that the board would need to make, and I have prepared the commissioners for what those findings would be.
Okay. Have you spoken to anybody at the Ethics Commission specifically about whether or not receiving this pro bono from a vendor could constitute a gift to
Yes,
the
sir.
commissioners?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Who'd you speak to there? Can you tell us?
Yes, sir, I spoke with the general counsel. She also serves as the deputy executive director.
What's her name?
Carolyn Clanky.
Thank you. Much appreciated. Yeah, I think that's, Mr. Chairman, I think that's all the questions I have for right now.
Okay, fantastic. The chair would entertain a motion on item A.
Move item A.
We have a motion on item A. Do we have a second? Second. Motion and second on item A. Please vote. Okay, item A passes 4-1 with Commissioner Underhill in dissent. Now we are up to item B, which specifically speaks to Commissioner May's being represented by the Levin firm. And Madam Attorney, it's my understanding that your recommendation is that each commissioner that's going to be represented should abstain from this vote.
That is my recommendation, and I believe Mr. May has the memo to read into the record.
Okay. So should we get a motion and a second before he reads that, or?
He needs to read it first. My preference would be that he read it first and then abstain from the vote.
Read it before we're on the item, because.
Right, I'll read the disclosure, correct?
On 8B.
Yep.
If you will.
Okay, go ahead. Lumen, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
No,
I,
no,
Lumen
no.
May, hereby disclose that on March 24, 2022, a measure came or will come before our agency inured to my special private gain or loss at the Board of County Commissioner meeting on 3/24/22, item Cat 2B, the recommendation concerning retaining 11 Papantonio Rafferty firm creates a conflict of interest pursuant to Statute 112.3143, Florida statute, or an appearance of conflict of interest pursuant to 286.012, Florida statute, as the subject case is filed against me in my individual capacity.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, I move the board, number one, find the claim against Commissioner May regarding acceptance of retirement contributions arises out of and in connection with the performance of his official duties and serves as a public purpose, and find that Commissioner Lumen May complied with the county policy regarding legal representation for commissioners and county employees, and find that the county is legally responsible for providing legal counsel in this matter for Commissioner Lumen May, and retain the Levin Papantonio Rafferty firm to represent Commissioner Lumen May in his individual capacity in this matter, with the firm providing these services on a pro bono basis and on the same terms and conditions as their existing representation on the 401A matter.
Okay, we have a motion.
Second?
Motion is second. Okay, before we
Discussion?
take a vote, before we take a vote, Larry Downs, did you mean to sign up to speak to each B, C, and D?
Yes, sir, because I may want one of y'all to get an attorney.
Okay, so come to the mic and you'll be recognized on B. Do you want to speak to all of them now, or do you want me to do a kabuki thing and bring you up every single time?
Just every time. It won't be but a few seconds.
Okay, you're recognized. You're
Thank you.
recognized.
Hey, and I like each one of y'all, I really do.
We can tell.
I even like Doug, I even like Lumen, I've known Lumen 25 years. I just believe this is a conflict of interest. Y'all are voting on whether or not to receive a gift from a vendor.
No, that's not our attorney's position, just to make that clear.
No, I get that, but it's my position, so I'm allowed to have a position.
You are.
That's all I'm doing is stating my position.
Your opinion.
I wasn't for Douglas getting attorney fees either, for saying some derogatory and possibly, false stuff, And today I'm not for him getting attorney fees, and he paid for them or is paying for them, And I'm definitely not for our county commissioners receiving a free gift, which this is, from, I don't know about y'all, but I've never had an attorney represent us pro bono, even with my nonprofit that I'm the only supporter of. So I find that to not only be a conflict of interest, I find it to really be a way to influence, future business of ours. Because, there's nothing wrong with each one of y'all paying to stand on your convictions, but to receive free services. You can call it pro bono, you can call it a gift, a donation, or a friendship. Doesn't matter. If they're getting paid by our tax dollars and then they're going to represent y'all for free, they wouldn't represent these people in here for free, pretty sure, or anybody else. But anyways, thank you.
Thank you, Larry. All right.
I'm not for y'all to vote for this.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, we're back on item B. Commissioner Underhill, you're recognized.
Thank you very much. So, Madam Attorney, am I to understand correctly that your objective here and the strategy is that you'll have each commissioner abstain from his own item, but then the same commissioners that are in the same bowl of hot water voting on each other's items so that you're able to, does that not strike you as trying to kind of get around the whole idea, since these commissioners are all in the same situation?
Technically, they don't even have to abstain. It's just my advice that they do abstain because of the appearance. The county as a whole, as an entity, can accept what you would call a gift. It can accept free services. If the county is responsible for provision of legal services based on findings of the board, then those services can certainly be donated to the county for free.
So is your advice to this board that the appearance of each one voting for their own thing is somehow worse than the appearance of each one of them voting for each other's but not their thing?
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's a pitch. Good pitch.
All right, any other discussion? Stephen, your light's on? Anything else from you?
No.
All right, so we're on item B. We have a motion and a second. Please vote.
Mr. Chairman, I'm so sorry. I saved the vote before Commissioner May voted. I apologize. That was my error. Can I restart the vote?
Yes, please.
Sorry
Let's
about
restart
that.
the vote. We're on item B, Commissioner May's item. So he is abstaining, and we're gonna vote again. Let's vote again. Okay, so item B passes, 3 in favor, Commissioner May abstaining, and Commissioner Underhill voting against. We're now up to item C. Robert Bender, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I, Robert Bender, hereby disclose that on March 24th, 2022, a measure came or will come before my agency which inured to my special private gain or loss. At the Board of County Commissioners meeting on 3/24/22, item Cat 2-2C, the recommendation concerning retaining the Levin Papatonio Rafferty firm creates a conflict of interest pursuant to statute 112.3143 Florida statute, or an appearance of a conflict of interest pursuant to statute 286.012 Florida statute, as the subject case is filed against me in my individual capacity.
Thank you. Commissioner Berry, you're
Thank
recognized.
you, Mr. Chairman. I move that the board find the claim against Commissioner Bender regarding acceptance of retirement contributions arises out of and in connection with the performance of his official duties and serves a public purpose, and find that Commissioner Robert Bender complied with the county policy regarding legal representation for commissioners and county employees, and find that the county is legally responsible for providing legal counsel in this matter for Commissioner Robert Bender, and retain the Levin Papantonio Rafferty firm to represent Commissioner Robert Bender in his individual capacity in this matter, with the firm providing these services on a pro bono basis and on the same terms and conditions as their existing representation on the 401A matter.
Can we, motion and a second. Speakers, Larry Downs Jr.
Again, I would like to, request y'all not vote for each other because it's a conflict of interest, in my opinion, my position. I just don't see how this can anyway be righted because one of you abstained from the vote because of citing statute whatever as the conflict of interest. It's in a statute that there's a conflict of interest. Now each one of you are voting to benefit each one of you. So again, I'm just going on record as a position that as a taxpayer, that I believe this will somehow affect us in the future as far as dealings with maybe even this particular vendor. Maybe it'll add to our bill later on. I mean, somebody, they're doing this for a reason. Whenever I haven't paid an attorney one time to help me, but I did a lot of plumbing work for him. You know what I mean? So I did pay in exchange of service for service. So my question is isn't this, or my position is, isn't this very similar? I mean, they're giving you a service in exchange for the services that we, the taxpayers, have paid. It's just similar, and I'm against it.
Thank you, Larry. We're back on item C. Commissioner Underhill, you're recognized.
Thank you very much. I'm in opposition based on my belief that this does in fact constitute a gift from a vendor to the three commissioners, and it inures to their, specifically to their gain. It does not in fact create gain for the people of Escambia County. So we'll be in opposition for that reason.
Okay, duly noted. Commissioner Berry, you're recognized. No? Okay, all right. Item 2, we have 2C, or item C, we have a motion and a second. Please vote.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, while you're waiting on that?
Yes, please.
I tell you, I would be actually in support of B and C if we were paying at market rates and if with the stipulation that if the commissioners were to lose, then they would reimburse the county.
Well,
the fact that it's a gift is what causes it a problem for me.
we appreciate that. Can you put that vote tally up? Because I was listening to him. Let's put that back up on the screen if you can. No, and I appreciate that, Commissioner Underhill. I appreciate that position. Okay, there we go. So item C passes with 3 in support, Commissioner Bender abstaining, and Commissioner Underhill in opposition. So now we're up to item D. Stephen, you are recognized.
Thank you. I, Stephen Berry, hereby disclose on March 24, 2022, a measure came or will come before my agency which inured to my special private gain or loss. Measure before my agency and the nature of my conflicting interest in the measure is as follows. At the Board of County Commissioners meeting on 3/24/2022, item Cat 2, item Cat 2.2D, the recommendation concerning retaining the Levin Papantonio Rafferty firm creates a conflict of interest pursuant to statute 112.3143 Florida statutes, or an appearance of a conflict of interest pursuant to statute 286.012 Florida statutes, as the subject case is filed against me in my individual capacity.
Thank you. Okay, the chair would entertain a motion. Commissioner Bender, you're recognized.
I move that the board find that the claim against Commissioner Berry regarding acceptance of retirement contributions arises out of and in connection with the performance of his official duties and serves a public purpose, and find that Commissioner Stephen Berry complied with the county policy regarding legal representation for commissioners and county employees, and find that the county is legally responsible for providing legal counsel in this matter for Commissioner Stephen Berry, and retain the Papatonia Rafferty firm to represent Commissioner Stephen Berry in his individual capacity in this matter, with the firm providing these services on a pro bono basis and on the same terms and conditions as their existing representation on the 401A matter.
Okay, we have a motion. We have a motion and a second. Discussion? Larry Downs, you're recognized.
All right, we're about to get out of here.
Please.
You know, I like to be consistent, and, you know, and I stood up here before y'all on Commissioner Underhill multiple times saying the exact same thing, saying he did what he did on Facebook, on whatever. I don't care if it's in person on Facebook or on the news. Whenever, you know, at that point, I just don't see how this can be. I can't say, you know, oh, well, it's okay for Douglas to hire an attorney, and I think y'all would have a problem with him getting an attorney pro bono back when all that stuff happened. I really do. I think you'd find it a conflict of interest. Just like each one of y'all have said, it's a conflict, not you, Burgash, but May and Barry and Bender. And I love Bender too. I actually kind of like Bender the best. You're
Now,
second.
wait a minute now.
You're
Come
second, Burgash, but I still have a problem.
I can't win.
I still have a problem with this because the hypocrisy is rampant across the board, local, state, and federal. Even worldwide, it's rampant. And that's what this is hypocrisy. You're voting for each other to receive a gift from a vendor. You wouldn't allow the chief building official to receive a gift from me because he's inspecting me. I'm paying him money to inspect me. You wouldn't do the same thing. And this is very similar. It's a service that they provide to the county that we pay for as taxpayers, and then y'all get the same service for free. That just doesn't sit well. That's the reason why each one of you are having to abstain for a conflict of reasons under a statute. Thank you. Don't do this one either. Sorry.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry about that, Barry.
Thank you very much. Okay, Commissioner Underhill, you're recognized.
All right, in this case, I'm in opposition for the reason previously stated, obviously with regard to the gift, but also in the fact that when Commissioner Barry and Allison went to the Ethics Commission, and this is a part, Jim Little, by the way, that has been somewhat lost in the sauce, is that we've got the issue of whether or not this is even legal for us to give ourselves a nearly $50,000 a year raise, which I think that'll be played out in court. But the other part of it was that Commissioner Barry and Madam Attorney went before the Ethics Commission in an attempt to get the ability for this board to be able to pay it backwards to the first time that they would have been eligible for it. And there were very significant material, what I believe to be significant material misstatements of facts presented to the Ethics Commission in order to achieve the desired objective. That raises the conduct to a higher level than of concern than the other two. And as a result, I believe that we should not only decline to support this, but we should instruct the attorney and Commissioner Barry to seek outside counsel for their conduct in that issue.
Thank you, Commissioner Underhill. Any other discussions on that? All right, please vote. All right, item D passes, 3 in favor, Commissioner Barry abstaining, Commissioner Underhill voting in opposition. So that brings us to the bottom of our agenda. There were no items added to the agenda, correct? Seeing no lights. Any announcements for the good of the order? Seeing none, we're adjourned.